Nobody, no crime. Well, not on my time. Eyes are watching, giving victims a voice. Raise your voice from Delphi to Camden, and there will be no more botching. We might not be Dateline, but come along if you want a great time. Grab yourself a glass of wine, and let's talk some true crime. And hey, you'll even have an alibi if you collect evidence in red Solo cups. If your expert says it just did, you might have a problem. We might not be Dateline, but come along if you want a great time. Grab yourself a glass of wine, and let's talk some true crime. And hey, you'll even have an
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be doing another Kelsey Fitzsimmons fundraiser, and we have some awesome guests planned for you guys. We are kind of getting down to the last minute. Kelsey's trial is next month, scheduled for next month. So we are trying to raise as many funds and as much awareness on this case as possible. So really appreciate you being here. I already have some fantastic guests that are here, so I'm going to bring them to the stage. This first person does not need an introduction. He has kind of paved the way for fundraising for Kelsey, as he did with Karen Reed in all of her trials. And I am so honored that he's always here whenever I decide to try and do one for Kelsey as well. So he doesn't need an introduction. Is our wing-kinged Mazza Media.
How you doing,
Hello,
Lauren?
Mazza. How are you?
Very good today. I got the tracker all ready to go for you, and I'm thinking if we can get past $80,000 today, that would be great. And we're pretty much about $563 away from that goal, so that would be great to get her over 80. And actually, the last time, the first time you did a fundraiser, we actually got Kelsey over $70,000 on your program. So this would be another landmark show for you today if we can get this money. And I got everything shared for you right now on my Twitter, on YouTube, just to promote this show today. And I'm very happy to be here, Lauren, and excited for your program today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, I'm not a fan of math, so you're always here to help me with that.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
love that goal. I love that goal. Let's do it. And we also have the myth, the legend, the myth, Broken Baker here to add to the stage. Hello, how are you?
I think it's called The Man, the Myth, the Legend.
That's it. I was like, my brain is farting right
Well,
now.
I have been I've been clipping Tuesday videos today, so I have worked on my English skills.
Oh,
So
man.
you will
How are
get
you
no
doing?
less back from me.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank
All
you for
right.
having it at a time where I can participate. That's
Yes,
so nice
I
of you.
know. Of course, like, no, I asked you before, and I know with you being overseas, that's a whole nother thing. So I was happy to change it to an earlier time so you could be here. I know it's still late your time and you're going to be needing sleep soon. So I'm just happy that you are joining us, and we finally were able to make it happen. So yeah, I guess let's kind of start out. And what do you guys think about, obviously, the ruling about the judge not being on this case? I think it's fantastic. But what do we think about it just kind of being shifted to another court instead of another court or another attorney, or not an attorney, another judge taking it at the Essex County Courthouse?
Well,
You want to go, Brooke? You want to open up?
well, we discussed it a little bit on Master's stream last week as well. It's a cope to get away from trouble, because clearly the big problem will be the ex parte hearings that would come out of this, because she was not in the right when she went and talked to that parole officer. And instead of doing away with a judge who broke the rules, we're just making up something about, oh, by the way, we moved it, and now we don't have to look into it. It's the things that come out on the back end of a cow.
Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like it was a way to kind of save her, because anybody who read that, I think, realized the severity of it. And I'm not even an attorney, so having anyone else in that orbit there in Essex County read that kind of realized the severity of it and what that would entail, and it wasn't good for her. But I hope that the people in Essex County still kind of push for that, because I feel like that's still not resolved. That's not okay. Like, we can't have judges doing that, reaching out, inserting themselves in investigations just to have it swept under the rug or moved to a different courthouse. Like, I just have such a bad taste in my mouth still about that. And I think that the public deserves answers. What are your thoughts, Mazza?
I think that there's so many things that need answers on this for sure, and it's just getting down to a discussion I had with the Glare yesterday. Sorry, I'm typing in the chat saying hello to some folks. Is the ultimate thing here is that when I look at, because Glare was sharing with us, Glare is really getting a lot of thoughts in on this and trying to think it through, which has been awesome to see him do, because he's got a large platform and his fundraisers are incredible, just as yours are and mine. And I'm so happy to see him sharing your stream today as well for you.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he shared it on YouTube so people could see that, and that was fantastic of him. But one of the things I said to him was, because he was walking me through how he's looked at this case and tried to determine, really what happened. Which at the end of the day, no matter what's happened here, it's really what happened in that bedroom with the shooting that really is the central point of this entire story and saga. And for me, I said to him, it's almost like to get to solving this puzzle of what happened, it's like you have to almost look at it like this box I'm in right now with my head. It's almost like you're building the puzzle, like this, and piecing it all together to look at things that happen, such as the RO. How many times has a child been taken away from that? Why didn't they remove the firearms? The fact that she had postpartum, the fact that a judge was talking to an officer of the prison, probation officer, whatnot, January, and you start to assemble all these pieces across your puzzle, and then you start to get towards the center. And that for me is like one of the biggest things of why I've come to see from the very early standpoint of Kelsey as an innocent woman. And that includes her stoicness outside of the court when she was released originally on September 8th of last year, when she said the truth will come out. And for me, that was her Karen Reed moment, where Karen stood on the courthouse steps in Dedham in 2023 during the summertime and said, we know who did this, we know who hit him. And then the news reporter quips, and then she goes, we know who hit him, John or whatever. But that for me was the moment of her showing me the same level of bravado. And bravado, I'm not talking about flash, I'm not talking about courage, I'm talking about belief. And the belief in herself that she knows she's an innocent woman. And, that's a big thing in all of this for me, in terms of assessing people's behavior, how they see themselves, how they view themselves. And that is, again, just a huge thing when I looked at her. And overall, I think there's a lot that's going to be discussed in the courtroom. Obviously, in a sense, that's going to be to try to show everybody why she's innocent. And I think that overall, things like, police procedure, why was this serving an RO? Why didn't they secure firearms first? Why was Noonan left in a one-on-one situation, isolation. They call it in basketball. They call it, it's like LeBron James. They'll go to the top of the key. They call it a one-on-one isolation play, and he'll try to go one-on-one to score a basket. That's a one-on-one isolation. And that's exactly what happened between Noonan and Kelsey. One cop, a person being served an RO, another officer leaves that room. Then it's a he said, she said. These are all very much things that look at police procedure and create something that we like to call, especially as Karen Reed supporters, reasonable doubt. And I'll leave it there for now.
Yes, absolutely. And I think like with this case, as so many others, like that's all they have to prove. I think, you know, a lot of us have the opinion that it was a whole lot more than reasonable doubt, but even if that is what some people feel, like that is more than enough, and it is certainly present here, even with the grand jury not believing Noonan's story enough to indict her for this alleged murder that they were trying to get her on.
And again, we're back to the overly broad way of writing laws in Massachusetts as well, because on the paper, yes, she's guilty, because any brandishing is a violent attack on a police officer. But again, what's the situation? What did happen? And again, the story's changed. Oh, she went behind a door. That was the first report, and there is no door. There's nothing to go behind the door for. And can I just say, because I'm a world-renowned massage therapist, at least I read that online.
One of my favorite quotes of yours.
But can I just say that how amazing it is that the ones who are going to kick the teeth in both Norfolk County and Chester County are two petite women with huevos grandos. That's I think it's so beautiful to see that that these two women said it's enough. It's enough. How many others have just been railroaded in this system? Because that's what they tried to do with Karen. We're going to up the charge if you don't take a plea deal.
That's right. And I fully believe that that's, you know, they were trying to get the highest count, and then when they didn't, I don't know what she's been offered, if she's been offered anything, but who knows? That's the best they could hope for, which I fully believe there's no way in hell that she would take a plea deal. Like, she's got all the facts on her side. And she's going to be able to speak her truth and her side of the journey and this whole story very soon. And I, for one, cannot wait. But yeah, these two women who are petite, pretty, strong, and smart, you know, are standing up to the government there in Massachusetts. And it is a good thing to see, and I'm here for it.
And again, I covered, I don't know if any of you read that attack piece on Dice yesterday in a local newspaper as well. They are really scared that change might come. You can tell that I have done nothing. I sit here in Denmark and just grift off of local politics in Boston. But what you people have done, you people, and again, talking about you people, is of course the people who are the faces on it, but it's so much more all the people who have spent time, days. I remember back before trial one, Tom was out at some parking lot filming people having like a yard sale in a parking lot in a snowstorm. And some restaurant came and gave them food because they thought that it was cool what they did. They have done so many local things, and that's why I'm saying, sorry to point it to another direction, but Adam Dites also needs those boots on the ground to go out there and rustle up that local support, because there's a lot of people out there, I think, who's angry, and they just need to be pointed in the right direction. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's the real heroes of like anything, is these boots on the ground who are out there, you know, in cold weather, hot weather, taking off from work. I mean, like, I have so much respect for anyone who's done that. And I'm in Florida, I can't do that, but my goodness, I look up to everybody who does that. And I know they've had some fundraisers, and not fundraisers, some standouts for Kelsey. I know the Notcher group at is it JJ Grimsey's, that every Monday they show up and they raise a significant amount of money for Kelsey, and it is just very much appreciated by her and her family.
Unbelievable. It's what is so important is just the way, it's multiple streams and avenues of people that are all individually as well as collectively doing their part. And I think that's what's so fantastic about North Shore Nacho Night is they do one, I think, every couple of weeks. And they have a great night. They go out, they have something to eat, something to drink, and have a good time and raise some money and do some great things. And I just think that that's fantastic because, I think the more people that are involved and the more people that can contribute or host a fundraising opportunity such as the one today, hosted by Lauren, Common Sense Investigator on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video. Thank you. Cheap pops. Yeah, cheap pops today.
Thanks, Maza.
You're welcome. Common Sense Instigator. No, I'm just kidding.
I can at times be that. On rare
Right.
occasions, I can.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's what's so great. And what I'm so happy about is just the translation of Karen Reed supporters to becoming Kelsey Fitzsimmons supporters, someone like myself, all of us here, and continue to be longtime Karen Reed supporters, but in a trial sense, I'm being more specific about where you have Kelsey Fitzsimmons, who is really the embodiment of Karen Reed. Any one of us could be Karen Reed. What happened to Karen Reed could happen to any one of us. And I see Kelsey right exactly in that mold. And, I feel fortunate that I can contribute, and we can contribute to helping someone like this. Not that we ever want to see something like this happen, but if it does happen, we've had people really ready, willing, and able to step up and can contribute. And Kelsey's fundraiser right now is rocketing towards 80,000. And for me, I would love nothing more than to get that to 100,000 before trial. We'll work at that, but it's all about chipping away. It's all about a fundraiser today by you, a fundraiser last week by me, future fundraisers. Broken Bakers had a fundraiser or two for Kelsey as well, and continuing to just kind of consistently put in the time. But of course, we have to thank every single person that's ever donated to these fundraisers. With nobody here to donate, what can we do but talk? But talking is effective. But, I just thank everybody that's watching these shows, sharing these shows, supporting Lauren in her efforts. Lauren not only comes on my show, but also said to me she wants to make sure Kelsey gets more fundraisers, and I'm doing mine bi-weekly. Lauren has said, what if we just alternate weeks? And that's been fantastic because it's ensuring at least one fundraiser a week on YouTube for Kelsey. And I want to thank you, Lauren, just for your efforts and as well as your time on my show as well, as you contributed. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I say it every time, and I'll make sure I say it again because you literally have been the example of using your platform to help people, and Baker has also done the same. And it's just really awesome to see because like you said, without people donating, we're just people talking, and nobody is gonna, that's not interesting. So everybody here is amazing for being here, and we appreciate it. And not only we appreciate it, but Kelsey and her family appreciate it more than she's not able to speak right now for obvious reasons. But I can assure you that it means so much and it lifts her spirit. And, she's stuck in a home. Yes, it's better than prison, but she's stuck there. And I don't know about you guys, but some of us are people persons. And when I get sick and I have the flu for a week, I am so over it. And I am not in the best place in my head. I'm I need to get out of this house. So I can't even imagine, going from 100 days in jail to being stuck in your house. Yes, it's a definite upgrade, but it's still not great. You can't go outside. You can't see the sunshine. So she is still very much, in a personal hell. And so anything that we can lift her spirits, give her that strength, not being able to speak, I just give her so much credit because that would also be driving me nuts. And she's handled it with absolute grace, and the strength that she has is really admirable.
And that's the thing. That's also because people are saying, why don't she just come out? There was a little kerfuffle with something. Let's not get into that part. Why doesn't she just say something? Because she can't. We saw what happened when Karen said something between her two trials. Anything you say can and will be used against you. So, of course, we understand why she has to take a step back. And again, we did a show last Sunday on Masa's channel. Monday morning was Kelsey's son's first birthday, and she couldn't celebrate it with him. Based on a judge who upped her dangerous level to an insane level, because there was no evidence that she had been dangerous to her son. All there was some kerfuffle at a bride party. That's all there was in it. And then all of a sudden, your life is gone. And I think it's the injustice, because again, according to the statute, it's going to be, but it's the injustice in all of this. She was set up to fail, and I really, that's the part that annoys me, because as you said earlier, this could have been all of us. It's kind of like the good old let's plant some drugs in the car kind of thing.
Yep.
Because how are you gonna you have a record? Yeah, of course you will have something in your car, and no one will believe you. Of course, 3 cops said that she was acting this way. She must be guilty. Oh my God. And it was just, I can't wait to find out what's behind all of this. And hopefully she will get back and can go to family court and also have a positive result there. And I don't know how these funds are being used, but I hope that she's also very well represented in family court, because that's also hell to go through.
Absolutely. And I mean, they're expensive. Like family court is like a whole nother level of, there's so much to look. You almost positively need a private investigator for family court. That I get a lot of business with that, doing custody battles, because that is very much needed a lot of the time. So, and just speaking, Baker, as what you were saying, for her have not done anything to get her child taken. I worked at DCF, as a lot of you know. Nothing that Justin alleges in his self-serving affidavit would come close to being a reason to take that child from her. And it is just, it's sickening that she has gone this long without her son. So like, this is just justice for Kelsey, but it is also justice for Caden, because he deserves his mother. He deserves both parents. Like, that is the ideal. You want a child to have both parents. And the fact that one is trying to take them completely away from the one is just, it's appalling, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's I was divorced when my kids were very young, and we didn't like each other. We still don't. We don't send each other Christmas cards, but we never ever disagreed that we're doing the best we can for our kids. That's the important part in this, because you have to be the grown up, even though you're probably acting like a teenager in that situation. But when it comes to the kids, they are not part of it. They are not
Right.
the reason. And I really feel sad that the system helps put her in that situation, because it was unfair. Again, that bringing him to the house, I have never ever heard about it in Denmark, in America, anywhere, that you'll bring the other part to escalate the situation. It's so insane.
Wholly inappropriate. Never
Oh.
should have happened.
Can I answer Madam Mayhem's question? How did he get the RO so easily? He had someone who told him what to write, because if you read his RO, it's the statute to get an RO that is followed almost like it's a checklist. She has to have these things. She has to have done this. You can read it, and then you can just check off line by line. There was a lawyer sitting next to him and helping him fill that out, because it's written to get an RO, and it's so clear when you read it.
Yeah. He knew the keywords. I mean, his family is no stranger to that system, and helping people get, help with alcoholism, getting put away, things like that. And he knew exactly what he was doing. Maza, do you want to speak on that, as far as the keywords and the things like that he knew about, maybe potentially?
Yes, I want to kind of pivot a little bit off of this point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about essentially the same thing, but I'm going to pivot a little bit. What bothers me the most is not what he did as much as the fact. So in our country, there's checks and balances essentially to ensure that certain people can only do certain things. For example, if I speed down the street and get two people are driving 100 miles an hour down the road and they both get pulled over, both people get a ticket instead of one of them because the other one had favor. There needs to be, in our country, and more specifically in the state of Massachusetts, is the fact that this was allowed to happen through the system, that someone was allowed to just, race to get a RO, all set to go, ready to be served. The cops went right to the house, walked in there, and did what they needed to do to get that child out of the house. This is very concerning for me as an individual that is looking at this, and it should be concerning for every parent, quite honestly, in the state, whether you're unmarried, whether you're engaged and have a child with someone, or whether you're married. That simply an RO could be served, and guess what? We're going to Kansas with the 3 kids. This is not something that should ever be permitted. And I feel, one of the thoughts about all of this I had, I think last week, not on my show, but in my personal time thinking about all of this, is I feel like a lot of people have failed Kelsey Fitzsimmons, including the system, including the previous judge, including people that are obviously involved with all of this, including her colleagues, including a name you just mentioned moments ago. I feel like all these people have failed her. I feel like all these people have done her dirty. And this is a woman that has, quite frankly, had a lot of things piled onto her that are absolutely unfair, that are absolutely unjustified. And to, quite frankly, see these things. Here's the thing. I'm going to be brutally honest here. I'm going to flip the script a little bit on my perspective. Let's say Kelsey Fitzsimmons did try to shoot the officer in the bedroom that day. All right, let's say she did. Let's go a little bit further. I've never had this discussion before, but let's do it today. Let's go and say, what if she did? Well, here are the facts. The RO still would have been served. They still would have entered the house without letting her know in advance. They still would have not have had DCF. They still would have not have had child custody, child services. They still would have had not whatever. So even if she did or did not point the firearm at her own house, and even if she did, the fact that all of this happened, there was a lot of things that don't really jive to me as things that should be conducted in this situation. And quite honestly, if she had, and I don't believe she did, attempt to shoot that fellow officer on purpose or intentionally, they really set the table.
Yes.
And Madam Mayhem's point there, honestly, in all truthfulness, show me a mother that would not have that exact perspective. Show me a father, in that situation that wouldn't have that perspective, that people are just basically, for her, it's an invasion. This is like, ma'am, we've come here to take your kids. Well, a second, no hearing, no court session, no an opportunity to discuss this, no opportunity for me to have a lawyer present and discuss this before you come into my home. You come in here, you don't even tell, based on what I saw on camera, it doesn't look like they told her what was going on until they had already gained access to the home. So it looks like they tried to gain access to the home under false pretenses. And then they want to secure a firearm. They never do that. So if Kelsey Fitzsimmons had, and again, I think this is kind of nice because I'm someone that's supposed to always look at everything from all potential sides. Even if she had, this is still an absolute abysmal bleep up by the North Andover Police Department. And it's also a grave injustice in our system that we're allowing. You mean to tell me if I was someone that had a child with another woman, I could simply get an RO taken out on her, have it served, and run away with the child? That is almost like reverse kidnapping. And I'm not saying it is kidnapping, but it does feel like reverse kidnapping in a sense that I'm not saying that's necessarily what happened to the highest level, but in a sense, you mean to tell me that people that want to kidnap, take their, and sure, they have possession of the kids, all they have to do is get an RO served, and the other person has absolutely no say and no right over that child? Then what the hell is the custody, child custody battles for? then why does that exist? You mean, okay, great. Well, I don't like the mother of my child anymore, or the mother of my child doesn't like the man and the father of the child anymore. So either one of them could just, hey, just get an RO and there you go. That can't happen in our society. That can't happen in our state. That cannot happen in reality. And we have to be a country of decency and making sure people are protected at all times. So what I'm saying is I'm not saying to the father of the child here, I'm not criticizing, I'll say this. I'm not criticizing his right to want to have sole possession of the child. I'm criticizing the system for allowing him to do what he did, to have that served, to have the child taken away in the manner that did, because quite frankly, had the opposite happen and had it been Kelsey that had an RO out on him, then that also would not be fair either. So what I'm doing is I'm eliminating my thoughts of Kelsey, eliminating my thoughts of him, and getting it right down to the nitty gritty by basically saying both parents should have an opportunity in an appropriate setting to hash this out. Not just, oh, well, I got an RO on you or you on me, and guess what? I got mine in first. I get the baby. Yay. That should never happen. And honestly, if I were a parent right now, I would be scared of the fact that, oh, this is how this is going to happen, and I'm not going to see my child because an RO served, and I got to go through the family court process. This was served last year, and it's almost coming up on a year now. And you mean to tell me that once that RO is served, well, yeah, it's been served. You can't see your child anymore. He's leaving with the baby, and now you're going to have to wait for the system to take its sweet ass fucking time. Pardon my French, Lauren.
It's fine.
Work this out. And, it might be 6 months. It might be a year. It might be, based on this watch, it could be 3 years. I mean, this is reality. This is reality. I apologize for such a long rant, but this is reality. You mean to tell me that if that's going to, even if that does happen and that's allowed in the state of Massachusetts, at the very least, there should be a law that allows the opposing parent that had the RO served on them to contest not the RO, but the custody of the child in an immediate sense, meaning they could seek out and authorize an immediate hearing to be done the next business day to have this brought to a court of law as soon as a day later. And I think that's the problem with Kelsey, is basically she's spending time in her house with her child. It's a Pleasant Valley Sunday afternoon. The song Pleasant Valley Sunday, if anyone remembers. I don't know what day of the week it was. I can't remember now. But, it's a pleasant day. It's a pleasant sunny day. Kelsey was probably going to sit around all day and enjoy her time with the child, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. And her whole life changes in a matter of minutes, permanently, because this was served. I just find that absolutely disgusting. And I'll transfer back. I've been talking for a long time.
But again, I mentioned the Rentala case where the officer said, well, it's the one who comes through the door first who gets the RO. And I think it's called mettre un temps fou. That's taking a crazy long time. I think that's as best as I can do it in French. But this is the big problem. To take the kid away, there must be an imminent danger to the kid. What was the imminent danger to the kid? There was no evidence provided that Kelsey was an imminent danger to the kid. This could have been handled with, hey, Kelsey, we are serving you. You have to be in family court tomorrow. That could have happened. What is the clear and present danger that made them have to remove the kid? And I don't know how the rules are in America. In Denmark, the rule is you have 50-50 custody. Because it's not uncommon. People in a divorce will try and do daddy is bad, you can't see your kids. In Denmark, we changed the rules because it's probably the same in America. 95% of every custody battle ends with the mom. And people saying, we are in 2020, I think we did it in 2022. That's not equality. We have to look at it. So everyone who gets divorced has 50-50 custody. And then you, of course, have where the kid lives and stuff like that. You'll have to figure that one out. But everyone has 50-50 custody. My problem in all of this is they come in, they take the kid, and I don't know, he was a danger to the father. Why is that a danger to the kid?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me too, because I see the type of people, like, here's the thing. When I worked for DCF, there were parents who, if I was the judge, probably would have said no visitation. And that does happen on very serious accusations when there's proof of horrendous abuse in many forms. But for the most part, you have a right to see your child, and you just do. Even if you're a shitty parent, even if made some terrible decisions, you have a right. That may be a supervised visits for a year while you go through some classes to be, reunited with them. But you have a right to see your child. So the fact that they didn't even give her supervised visitation, and then to come to find out this could be due to Judge McCarthy Naiman, is despicable. I mean, despicable. What did she do? Absolutely nothing. She didn't harm that child in any capacity. It is gross. It is disgusting, and it was so contrived to get ahead of something, and it's unforgivable in my opinion.
We actually have it opposite. The child has a right to see their parent.
Okay.
So that's how that's how you see it. The child has a right to see their parents.
Yeah.
And you will then have to deny the kid the right to see their parent.
Yes.
And that's a whole other way of seeing, well, I want to see my kid. Yeah, but your kid has a right to see its father or mother. That's the basic, because we changed the whole way of looking at the system. So now it's kid focused instead of parents focused, because parents will fight. Parents will lie. You've been in DCF. You know they will lie to the end of the earth to win. That's why the system is built to look at what's best for the kid. And I think that's another way of looking at it, instead of doing that. Well, I want a 50% visitation because blah. No, if the kid have to travel 4 hours to get to you, maybe you shouldn't have it every other day or something like that. What's best for the kid? That's how our system works. Is you start with the kid and then you look at the family. You don't look at, oh, daddy or mommy has these rights. No, the kid has a right. And I think that's a whole other way, a little more holistic to look at it.
I love it. I love that. Absolutely love it. I mean, it's crazy. And, I've had to take parents up to 3.5 hours to see their child. Why? Because the court said I had to, because they had it right. And that was where foster care was for the time being. So it's so wrong on so many levels. And then for a criminal judge to get involved on a family court level like that, to already be the judge and juror of Kelsey, and that she can't see her child, everyone I think feels so seen, because we knew something when we heard that hearing, when she was bound and determined to throw her into jail again. We knew something was off. We knew something was personal. She was way too invested, and something wasn't right. Like, we all have those like feelings. It's like, no, something is off here. And I feel like we all were validated in those feelings when Bradel released this motion basically stating that she had all this ex parte communication with the parole officer. I mean, imagine like just the audacity to be like, I'm going to go here and I want to see your emails. I want to know what you've been doing with the defense. And then when he shows her and there's no misconduct, then she's mad at him. And so she files a complaint about January. Who do you think you are? And like, I'm so sorry, but like, if there's no way this is the first time that she's acted in this manner, in my humble opinion, because you don't start out doing something this grotesque, in my opinion.
No, and that's another thing, because remember when that was appealed to the Supreme Court, they said there's nothing wrong in her conduct. Especially now when we know what she did the day before. Because I felt that she was very emotional, and I don't like emotional judges. Judges should be blind, and she was way too invested. And then after I heard that ruling, I think, oh, is it because I'm partisan in this? Is it because I think Kelsey deserves better? Is that the reason why I heard it that way? I might have had my feelings in it. And then you hear it again after reading Braidline. No, she clearly was out of line. No, she didn't do anything. She stood up in the middle of a hearing and just walked out.
Yeah. No,
that
I'm
alone
with you.
should have removed her from the case.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
I'm
strong
with you.
statement. And, I'm just thinking about law changes in the state right now. I'm getting a tweet ready as we speak to call out Governor Maura Healey on Twitter. Not that she'll ever read it, but I'm going to do it anyways because I can. But again, there needs to be law changes in Massachusetts and any other state where a child can be taken away from one parent when an RO is served. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Take the fact that we look at Kelsey as the hero in the story. Take away the fact that we look at the other gentleman, far from gentleman, as the villain in this story. Take that out of the fact. Take that all off the board for a second. Take the emotions and the thoughts of everything that happened completely out of it. This is something that just should not be allowed through this process. There shouldn't be loopholes like this. And I look at it from the overall perspective of there should be a process that you have to go. I mean, you for example, someone might say, well, what about the fact if one parent wants to serve an RO and the other? Okay, fine. Okay, good. That's a good point. Now, let's go there. Let's talk about that. So he has the right to get an RO on her. Okay, so we can agree that anybody has the right to get an RO on anybody they want. We agree to that right. Okay, perfect. Now, there needs to be a law in place or some kind of enforcement of a law that's put into place when it comes to children being involved. So, given the fact that there's a father having an RO put out on a mother, there needs to be a law that can protect that other parent. Now, that would mean simply like an automatic alternating week of the child or an alternating 4-day, 3-day, 3-day, 4-day week where that is in place until a proper hearing is held. Those would be acceptable amendments for the time that is being, but there needs to be an equal share. And if that law was in place, they would have just come to the door and said, hello, Kelsey, we're here. An RO has been placed on you. What this RO entails is basically there's going to be a temporary joint custody of the child. So the RO is going to be placed on you. You can't have any contact with them for the time being. But with this RO being served, you're not going to lose custody of your child. However, you're not going to have sole custody of your child until a hearing happens. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a temporary possession of the child from one party to the next. It's either every other week or 4 days, 3 days, or 3 days, 4 days in an alternating biweekly pattern. And so what's going to happen is the person that serves the RO has the right to the child for the first 4 days or first week. And then you get the child back for whatever set of days. Now, with this, there's also laws and restrictions. So if you don't have the child back to the other person within the time frame and with the RO being served, what you do is you could have your parents, you could use your parents to, move the child back and forth between him until this thing goes to a hearing where there's a child custody battle. That would be, for me, an acceptable amendment or a pivot step until a formal custody actually takes place. So that, I think if that was a law, I feel like Kelsey's reaction may not have been as strong, because as much as she would have still been upset, angry, furious, what have you, and even though she had postpartum depression, I think what happened was so extreme where the child's being taken away essentially until whenever. It's basically almost feels to her like her, the carriage is being robbed, essentially. That's what's happening here. And I think that if this law was, somewhere in place, and I don't know the law and how it works with this in that sense, but if there is not, it's not because they got to do this and this happened. That means that there's the loopholes. Those loopholes need to be corrected. They need to be fixed. And there needs to be, just like I proposed, an amendment like that that would be favorable to both parties while this RO is served until, again, a more formal hearing takes place to work on a permanent child custody plan. Now, to Broken Baker's point that he made about 20 minutes ago on this show, he talked about one thing, and that was Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Kelsey Fitzsimmons was proven as a danger to him based on whatever he reported that they bought and signed to get that RO authorized, right? That's basically what they're saying when they signed off on that, but there is no verification. I'm not saying she was a danger to him, by the way. I'm just saying that based on that being authorized, someone bought into that fact. Now, the other thing is the child. Well, where's the proof, like Broken Baker said, that she was an immediate threat to the child? Why were the cops not called for a domestic disturbance? Why was there no pattern of this? Why are there no police logs of, at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, she was drunk and rowdy and she was throwing beer bottles around the house, and the delivery driver to deliver late night pizza from Papa Gino's or Domino's showed up and she threw the cash at him and threw a beer bottle at him as he walked away. See, there's no examples to show a level of rowdiness that would lead up to her being a threat to that child. So those are things I look at and say, this law needs to be amended because, again, as bad as it is for Kelsey, it's far worse than it should be if better laws were in place to give her more of an opportunity to not necessarily basically be thrown into a pit of misery, which is, we're taking your RO's been served. This is what's happening. We're taking your child. You can't have a chance to get your child back until such and such a time. And at that particular point, we have to understand as human beings, and this goes back to the point that says, even if she had intentionally tried to shoot a fellow officer, well, doesn't the law of it in itself place her in a situation where fight or flight kicks in, where she feels so threatened by what's happening that she almost feels what we would call a natural by nature inclination to protect her own child. And at that particular point, she was driven to such a point of great magnitudes to defend her child that the law and the bounds of reality were no longer present in her mind because such a threat had arrived at her doorstep. And she immediately looked at, and this is in the sense that she did try to shoot on purpose. I'm looking at different scenarios tonight. But if that's all true, then essentially the law has failed Kelsey Fitzsimmons. The law is not protecting people. The law is essentially instigating people to be placed in a set of circumstances where they could react in a way beyond their own control. It's like when you watch her open the door in the video. She opens the door. She doesn't think much of it. But as she turns, you can kind of see her look like this and then turn around. You can kind of start to see reality of what's happening, and the curiosity start to kick in. So you're doing something that's very extreme, that is an absolute threat to someone, that could put them in a situation where they could act in a manner that is unbecoming of their behavior because they feel like they must protect their child. And that of it in itself is not protecting her from herself and her reactions. It's like if someone gets so upset and so angry at someone, they just haul off and do something absolutely outrageous. And then 20 minutes later, like, oh my goodness, I wish I hadn't reacted in that way. But something instigated that to happen to get them to that psychological level that enacted that reaction that they later regretted. Now, maybe Kelsey, whatever she did or did not do, whatever she may or could not have done differently, that exact moment doesn't give her the opportunity to think it all through. She's essentially blitzed. She's essentially having to react in the moment. She's reacting from a motherly perspective. She's reacting because she has postpartum depression. And she's reacting because she feels sabotaged and barraged. And that's a very scary thing. And that goes back to the responsibility of the North Andover Police Department to properly protect and properly secure the scene, which I felt was an absolute failure on that police department. And I truly believe that the chief of police, Charles Gray, should resign in disgrace. And I think that whole department should be, at least the officers that were there, that should be under full investigation. They should be placed on administrative leave retroactively back to the day in which that incident occurred. So that would be all the officers that entered the house, One of them is currently not on their roster on the North Andover Police Department page, but I think the chief of police should also be placed on leave as well, because it obviously would have been him that authorized those officers to go there that day. And I just think that there's too many people getting away with too much, and there's not enough checks and balances to protect people. The police department's to serve and protect. Sometimes they have to use lethal or force in a situation. However, leading up to any kind of violent threats or potential suicidal attempts, there was not a properly secured scene there. And that's very disgraceful, and it's very unbecoming of our police department in that town. And we have to make sure that, again, I don't want these guys to all necessarily have to burn at the stake without necessarily being reviewed. I mean, they could have just been absolute idiots. They could have been absolutely untrained. They could just be absolute morons. That I don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But at the same particular time, you had not only Kelsey that was a threat to herself, that, I believe attempted suicide, which would have been a tragedy. I mean, if she had committed suicide in that again rests in the hands of the police department. The police department it's on them to control the scene. It's on them to take every single necessary measure to review everything to make sure nothing bad happens. Because again, what if she had shot Noonan and killed him? What if she had exited the bedroom with that firearm and gone downstairs and decided to pop other officers in that house? What if one of the officers fired back at her, missed, and it went through a window and hit an old lady next door making apple pie? And I don't say that to be funny, but I say it to be real. Bullets can go all over the place. So all of a sudden now, do we have someone next door getting shot by a stray bullet because they couldn't properly control the scene? This is a threat, and these officers need to be reviewed. This police department should be audited. And quite frankly, I think some of the measures that happened in Canton should happen in North Andover. This select board, I think, needs to be overlooking a lot of things right now. I think more people need to ask questions in North Andover. And I honestly think that, there needs to be a lot more addressed in that town, because I think that this town really hasn't faced the pressure that the town of Canton had faced, which was people in their own town standing up and asking the select board questions, people asking questions of the chief of police. And quite honestly, when I look at the town of North Andover, I'm really not sure who's standing up there yet. I'm not really sure who's going to be the Rita Lombardi and who's going to be the other people in that town that have kind of spoken up before select board meetings and started to say, we have questions about our police department and how they conducted something here. We have questions about why this is on the news. We have questions about this. And I'm not asking for people to be chaotic. I'm asking for people in the town of North Andover to essentially walk to the podium, walk to the microphone in their own town, and start asking these questions. Start asking questions of your select board. Start asking questions of your police department, and ask them why these things happen. Ask them why these procedures weren't in place, and look for answers. And I think there needs to be more pressure here on this town in terms of their select board, in terms, again, of their police department. And this is not to cause havoc. This is not a statement meant to say, be rebellious, be antagonistic. This is simply to say, be like someone said, Brenda Sweeney, Dennis Sweeney, go there and ask questions. Say to them, hey, look, we're a little bit concerned about what's happened here. We need you people in this town that run this town to look into this. And I'm not seeing that, which bothers me, because the people in Canton were up in arms about the Karen Reed case. When they learned about what happened, these people were up in arms. The people in Canton, Massachusetts were among the most frontlines people. Dennis and Brenda Sweeney were just at Karen's hearing this week. These folks are still active. They're still actively talking to their select boards to this very day. And I think in North Andover, I want to see people that are willing, what are we going to do? People from outside their town going to start showing up? I'm not saying to do that. But what I am saying is there anybody in that town that wants to go to that microphone and say, dear select board, we're questioning what's going on in this town. We want to start to see things under review, and we want to start calling for potential leave and resignations, etc. And Jeno says that too. Yeah, like you said, Lauren, to point that out. But these are just things I get concerned about. But again, and maybe people in the town of North Andover have, and I'm not aware of it. So to anybody in North Andover that has done that and I haven't seen it, my apologies to you and my hat off to you that you've been doing that. But like I said, I just think that this is something that happened last year. Has anybody asked any questions at all? And I'm not. Like I said, I just think there needs to be pressure in a constructive sense on that town to say, look, we have seen something happen here. If another person, like to Jen O's point, great mod for my channel and many others, and yours, what's happened here is concerning to us. This Kelsey Fitzsimmons is a fellow officer. If I'm a mother or a father, I'm not an officer. Could this happen to me too? Could this end up, could anything happen here? And why is there not proper procedure taking place? It's just, I think maybe there's just too many questions for these people right now. They haven't had a chance to fully get the information they need. Maybe that's it. I want to be as constructive as possible. But I just think that there need to be people in that town that get to that microphone and bring these things up. And Canton people have been relentless. And I want to say one more time for the record here, I'm not calling on any kind of, craziness to happen in terms of rebellion. I'm not saying go to your, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying in a very Brenda Sweeney-like fashion, make your concerns known before your town and state your case about what your concerns are, in a sense that what's happened here is quite chaotic and concerning, that these officers are not being questioned or reviewed, especially by an internal affairs department. Why didn't you secure the firearm first? I don't see any questions for this police department being asked by anybody. It's just, well, it happened. Well, it was Kelsey, and that's that. And I got news for you. I don't know what Kelsey's plans are going forward, but you can imagine that she's suing the living hell out of that police department someday. And that may not be next year, may not be the year after, but someday I'm willing to bet good money there's going to be a lawsuit on that town. And whether or not any person ever goes to that microphone, whether or not that, those officers are ever expelled, fired, or resign or whatever, that is a case where there's going to be eyes on in that town, in terms of eyes on watching that happen and be carried out if she decides to file a suit against them, because I believe she will. I'm not even saying she should. I'm not going to recommend it. I would bet 100% with 100% confidence bet she's going to sue them, and she should, because there's a lot of questions about procedure here. So I talked a long time. I apologize, but there was a lot to say there. All right.
Yeah. Great point.
Well, if I because we're coming up at 11 o'clock, so I'm gonna jump off soon. And thank you so much, Lauren, for having me on.
Yes.
I saw mentioned Carol Eskins in chat. I would love to hear her take on it, because she has fought so much for Young Harmony and kids who sadly has passed away. And I would love to be able to talk to her about stuff like this as well. I think she could have some very interesting insights on all this policy changing, because she was the judge who made those decisions. So that could be really, really interesting to hear what her take was on all of this. What policies would be effective? Because I'm not sure a court-ordered split from day one, but then maybe saying, okay, you're getting an RO, so we have an emergency family court tomorrow, so we can figure this one out. Because just going in there and take the kid away is not right, unless there is a danger to the kid. And there isn't anywhere in the RO any danger to the kid. So checks and balances needs to be put in place. And sadly, it's Massachusetts, y'all. Law and order is something we watch on TV. It's not something we have in the community. And that's actually the worst part of starting to watch the Karen Read case, is to get to know you people who live in Massachusetts, to watch all of this from Massachusetts. I'd watched the Karen Rintala case, hadn't thought more about it. And now after watching Karen Read and Kelsey, and you see all the similarities, and you're thinking, it's a problem for the entire state. It's not a Norfolk problem. It's not a Chester problem. It's not whatever problem. It's The entire state has the same problems. You are not being served by the people who are there to serve and protect you. And that's a disgrace, in my opinion. But I'm going to go jump to bed. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for being on, Baker. We
No,
loved
it's my pleasure. I'm lucky that I get to hang out with cool people.
us too. So thank you so much. And I know that it's late.
I have to say
Yes.
one more thing. Marcia, you have to. I don't eat chicken because I had a very bad salmonella poisoning back when I was younger. Those chicken legs looked really good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, you did.
Oh, they came out great. I devoured them at like 40 minutes before showtime. I was like, they were just ready in time. I'm like, perfect. They got enough time to eat, enough time to get ready for the show. But I used Guy Fieri's all-purpose seasoning, which I've used the garlic butter, garlic salt, butter salt. No, butter garlic. But this one I used the all-purpose seasoning today, and it was the right level of spice. Not like buffalo spice, but a good spice. Thank you for that compliment.
Yeah. It looks amazing. And again, I don't like poultry because once you have had bad salmonella, is it late in Denmark? Yes, it's 11 o'clock at night. So and I have to be up again at 5:30. So I'm going to jump off and let you have a wonderful night. And thank you all so much for watching, because without you watching, we are just talking. But you are the ones making all the magic happen. And remember to touch all the buttons for Lauren and help her, because we got it to 1,000, now on to 10,000.
I love the way you think, Baker. Thank you so much for being here, and your insight is valuable to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you both for being so
Always
cool and
pleasure.
letting me hang. It is.
Yeah,
thank you so much for it's for me. It's the pleasure. I'm just an idiot from Denmark, but you're the cool people.
You're not an idiot. You're a cool person too, Broken Baker. We love you, man.
I know. Yeah.
I'll try. And
Sleep
a
well.
world-renowned massage therapist.
There you go. You heard it here first.
That's a riot. I love it.
him. He's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. So it's been a minute. So
another donation.
we had another one come in.
Yeah, another $25 just came in. We're at $250 on the night.
Yay.
Right.
Thank
Very
you so
good.
much.
Very good. Very good.
I was just gonna touch on that a little bit. I know, yes, so much love in the chat for Baker. We all love him. How can you not love him? I know, for a lot of us, it's really tough right now. And so I think sometimes when we see the donation and like a fundraiser show, like maybe we don't have a lot to give, and that's completely understandable. If you're in a position to give $5, that stuff adds up. So like little donations, if everyone could make a little donation, that's a huge donation at the end of the show. So no amount is too small. And I think that's another benefit to what me and Maza are trying to do with like rotating the weeks of having these fundraisers, is we know like people get paid at different weeks. So that also puts people in a better position to, I know, once it gets close to payday, you're kind of struggling a little bit more. So like that gives kind of an opening to each week having maybe a little bit more that they might be able to share. And so, if everyone is able to do that, that would be amazing. She has a huge, long fight ahead of her. This has almost been a year, and she hasn't even been able to see her son in that year. So, and she has a whole lot of family court stuff coming up, and also her trial next month. So she definitely can use our help and really appreciates it. And it's just, the whole thing is really scary, but I'm pissed because no doubt some idiot somewhere is going to use what Justin did to try and gain access and get ahead of the system like he tried to do. And it's going to be a continual thing because there's not proper laws in place. This is such a crapshoot of hey, I could just put anything on paper and not have to have a hearing, and the other side doesn't get to show any evidence or prove that, hey, maybe he's just pulling this out of his ass, like it's just wild to me. So it is something that really affects us all, because it doesn't matter where you live. I personally don't live in Massachusetts, but I know that it happens everywhere. We've just happened to see a lot of the corruption going on right now in Massachusetts coming out to light. But it can affect all of us, whether we have children or not. We have, brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and all of that. And it's a terrifying thing that someone can want to get ahead of something and look better and go and just make up a bunch of allegations that can take place, in 2026, that is still happening. And, we all, like Mazda was talking about, we all have voices and they're public servants. So they have, they have to answer questions, and it's completely perfectly fine to ask questions. That's what we should be doing. So, and I know all you guys know that, like, everybody here is very, like, educated and knows your rights and all of that. So, I know that, this is a Saturday evening, afternoon, and it means, like, a lot that, like, so many people are here. And yeah, I mean, just thank you for being here. And Mazda, I will throw it to you.
We get some nice donations coming in here. I'm going to calculate it
yeah.
right now.
Awesome.
I thank
Thanks
everybody
so
for these
much.
donations. Usually when I see like there's some time without a donation, I usually say to the chat, I'll be like, it's been like 20 minutes.
And you
It's
guys
all
are
right. That's
literally
okay.
the best. Like, this
Yeah, you guys
community
are
is
awesome.
so generous. And that's why, like,
Yeah.
it's really heartwarming because I mean, a lot of I haven't met personally, Kelsey personally, in
It's not
person.
letting me
And so
post my comments anymore. It's just
what?
it's not allowing me to post in the chat anymore. It says this comment has failed to post to Common Sense Investigate. Let me just do a test post.
Yeah.
Let's see here. That went through. It's not letting me do my new total anymore. Let me just do a new total without the $sign. Let's try it this way.
Okay.
That went through. Okay, that went through. And when I put the dollar, let me try it again with the $sign.
Okay.
New total. I think it thinks I'm spamming the chat. Let's see. That went through. Okay, that worked. Thank you, Sarah. Be creative. All right, so 360 now, and we're now $203 away from $80,000. This is great.
That's our goal for tonight, to reach 80, a nice round number. So I think we can do it. Yeah. I know Nurse Kim is going to be joining us in a little bit. She had some errands that she had to run a little earlier, given the blizzard that you guys, I guess, are getting up there really soon. And then I don't know where Claudia is. I texted her like 20 minutes ago, and I haven't heard back. Hopefully she's okay. But hopefully we will be having some other guests as well. Thank you, Rhonda. Rhonda's always so kind and supportive. Yep. So we now have 203 away, so I think we can do that. I think that is a reasonable goal for us. Maza, what topic would you like to discuss now?
The live total right now is 79.7.
Oh wow, okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'm still kind of getting caught up. Yeah, so we're at 79. I'm gonna put the number up. 79. It just looks funny to see this number. 79.7. That's the total right there. It's alternating 7s and 9s. There we go. Perfect. I'm just, like I said, I'm just so grateful for. Oh, we just got another one. We're over now. 79,822. Guys, thank you so much for these donations. This is so great. Up to 385. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, look at the generous offer here from Sarah Be Creative. Also so generous and kind, always. You guys are great, like, just amazing, and like, I can't state that enough, how much Kelsey and this family appreciates it. I don't know if anyone has ever suffered from any kind of anxiety, but I can only imagine that after everything that Kelsey has been through, being shot, having to fight for her life, waking up and realizing that you're alive, but that your child is still gone, and that nightmare that you literally thought maybe was a dream while you're in the hospital is actually reality. And then having to fight to get yourself whole again while not having your child, while realizing that your fiance betrayed you in so many ways, cheating, taking your child. And then to hear this like bogus claim that someone is a friend put in that affidavit that Justin signed. I just feel like, how many ways could one woman be betrayed on so many levels? Like, this is a whole nother level of like kicking someone while they're down. And so then you get past that, where you get out of the hospital and okay, we're going to go to trial. We're going to prove with evidence. And then you have a judge that clearly had some kind of invested interest in this case's outcome, throw you back in jail for 100 days. So then you're trying to fully heal on your own, not ever seeing your child, hardly getting updates, having the judge put in an order that, you can't even see your child. You can't even fight that. And I just can't imagine. And the anxiety that she has, even Bradel brought it up when she goes to court. She is so anxious. And why? Because it's PTSD. You don't want to go to a courtroom where you just got thrown in jail for absolutely nothing. And if any of you have suffered from anxiety, I know I have. And first of all, there's nothing to be embarrassed about that. Like, that, most people suffer from anxiety, depression, and there's nothing to be ashamed about that. You know how like debilitating that can be. So imagine having all of that on your plate and then hearing things like Justin is saying about her, knowing that like it's not accurate, it's not true, and not being able to fight and stand up and defend yourself. Like, when you have your voice taken away, that's a whole, like, that's like one of the worst things, when you can't speak. So the fact that we're out here kind of getting attention to this case and really looking at the actual evidence and the things that don't make sense, it just really means a lot to her and her family. And you guys' donations mean so much. So like, no matter how small, no matter how, frequent you do it, even a prayer, like, this is a family who believes in God. They very much believe in prayers. And if you can't give, pray. If you can't give, tell someone about this case, because all of those things matter. Getting the advocacy for her is so much. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has ever donated, who has ever shared a tweet, who has ever put their comments in a comment section under her Facebook group, which, if you haven't joined it, go join it. You guys like are bringing so much awareness to this case, and they appreciate it, and I appreciate it. So I'll shut up now.
No, that's great, Lauren. That's great. That's great stuff, because I think oftentimes we have to like really just do a great job all supporting each other in a positive fashion for what everybody is doing. Like a $10 donation just came through. That $10 donation took us from $43 away to $33 away. Amazing. It just shows you how every little bit can really bring us to the goal and to help Kelsey. It all matters. And we hit it. We're over $80,000, $17. Wow.
You guys are incredible. We got it. Literally incredible. Yeah. Like,
Nacho Night just put us over. Oh my God, that's awesome. Thank you, Nacho Night.
Thank you so much. That's incredible. I mean, you just proved what I'm saying. Like, you guys are just the most like giving community, and it's really heartwarming. Like, this is what it means to have a community who cares about each other, who is willing to like speak up and talk and share what they can. Like, it's hard out there, like, for everyone right now. And to know that like your hard-earned money is going to something you believe in, that really touches me. And like, when someone needs help, it's given. And I know like Will is having a fundraiser later for the Turtle Boy supporter and Karen Reed supporter that just passed away in a car accident after she battled and fought cancer for years. Like, this community has genuine love and concern for each other, and it really is just really touching, and it's wonderful. So you guys are so generous and giving, and I just can't thank you enough for all that you do for everyone.
Extremely well said. And Crystal was a long-time supporter, as we know, and she was someone that would be just like every other supporter that was on the front lines. Had the Karen Reed shirt, was at standouts, national standouts. She was she'd met Aiden, Karen, probably many others as well, and just was someone that was out there as a regular and just dedicated to the cause and fighting for Karen. And looks like you moved it to next week. I want to plan it so I can give the boots
I
the
will.
voice too. Nice.
That's great. And I just, it was so touching to hear you say that. Like, it's a wonderful community, and you have people like Maza and Will who are like the fundraising kings, really. I mean, the amount that they raise, I know for Maza, like, you've raised over $20,000 now for Kelsey in a very short time. Will, I don't even remember how much he's raised for Karen. It was phenomenal. And then just the other night, he raised $10,000 for Turtle Boy just in the blink of an eye. So you guys are doing such great things with your advocacy and your channels that everybody can learn from that and strive to want to give back and do something awesome like that too.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so good. And I think what I like to do too, like, we have goals that are achievable with every show we do. Like, we always say, like, okay, what goal can we hit tonight? So we said, okay, 80,000, we hit that. So that's when we always spring the next goal on the viewers. We're like, okay, what's the next goal? We're at $680 tonight. So we're gonna see if we can, how close, or if we can hit $1,000 tonight.
Let's do it.
A note here. We've hit 580 in an hour and 15 minutes roughly. And I thank you guys so much for your efforts and your sharing of the stream tonight. This has been fantastic. It's just good to see. I just think that, my attitude about the Karen Reed trial and, everything else is just, I think the best thing we can do is raise awareness. And the best way to do that is to, post online, share links, share videos and all that, and just share the news, continually to tell people about it. And I think that's what was so great about the Karen Reed case was the campaigning aspect of it. Was people had signs, they had shirts, they had everything out there imaginable to try to get this thing amplified. And the more people that learned about it, wanted to support Karen, help her out, and $1 million was raised. And that was an extraordinary process for sure. And I'm so grateful that, like I said earlier on the show, we can translate, because when I first started covering Kelsey, I immediately said to myself, well, I've done so many fundraisers for Karen over the years that, it just made sense to me to do a fundraiser for Kelsey, because, for me, what I learned about Karen's cause was through Michael Morrissey. When Michael Morrissey's email came out, he said that, Karen Reed's defense was uncommonly well funded. And that was something that really stood out to me. We just hit $700 on the night, by the way.
Sarah matched that. She's a woman of her word. She said, like, I mean, Sarah, you're awesome. You're always I see you supporting like all of these causes. You're someone who has always stood out to me. Thank you so much. You're awesome and just generous and kind, and you're amazing. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah P. Creative, for your time here and your donation to Kelsey. You've been very giving, and we appreciate you greatly for that. Thank you for helping out. As another $50 donation perhaps comes in to bring us to $750 on the night. This is, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Wow, this is great.
You guys are incredible.
Wow, it's just, like I learned was Michael Morrissey in his leaked email when he was trying to get the second trial going. He was trying to get that money to get Hank Brennan, I think it was $1 million he was looking for. And he used the term, Karen Reed's defense fund was uncommonly well funded. And for people like myself that ran a lot of fundraisers, and for every single person that ever donated during a fundraiser, ever bought a shirt with money being donated back to Karen, ever held their own fundraisers, ever did a North Shore Nacho Night to raise money for Karen, we were all, thank you, Sharon, we were all, he was referring to us when he made that comment. Karen Reed's defense is uncommonly well funded. That's referring to us.
Damn right.
That's referring to all of us. And we had an effect. And I said to myself, what we're doing is working. What we're doing is affecting, giving Karen exactly what she needs, because they planned on just getting her once in trial, overwhelming her financially, and then basically putting her down for the count by basically going to jail for the rest of prison for the rest of her life. And that is not happening now because we made sure she had the funds to get. We got the $50 in, and we hit 800 so far tonight.
Amazing! Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. And that's exactly what happened, was that people will say, well, you guys paid her way to victory. I mean, yes, we did. But we also understand that the only way to fight for truth when the deck is already stacked against you, you have to pay your way. When something like this happens to you, you're in a hole financially where you have to pay your way out of this. Karen sold her house. Am I wrong to say Kelsey sold her house?
She sold her house. Yep.
She has sold her house. So these people have lost their homes.
Yes.
In order to finance their path to fight their way through this financially, which is huge. Which is a huge thing to have to do. I can't imagine having to give up a home in order to protect myself, because they put you in the financial hole immediately. And so I realized, I'm like, well, with what Michael Morrissey said, well, you have to fight finances with finances. It's like when you're running a political campaign, no matter who you are, Republican or Democrat, you're going to have, or Adam Deitch, for example, you're going to have money to promote yourself. And when you look at a lot of primaries, whether it's the Democrats that have 8 people running for president or the Republicans that have 8 people running for president, the next presidential election will be just like that pretty much, because it's going to be a non-incumbent election. There's going to be a lot of people up there. They're going to be campaigning for funds, and there's going to be battles in each party to say which person should be the person to get to the top. But what happens to a lot of politicians, sometimes you have a politician that people in a particular party may think that's good, and might say, well, we like this candidate, but that candidate maybe doesn't compete as well because they don't have the finances, and that is what happens in politics a lot, is that typically your top 2 to 3 candidates in each party are the more well-funded, and in court, someone like Karen wouldn't have been able to keep up with the second trial, let alone the first trial. We raised about $500,000 each trial. It becomes a massive issue for someone like Karen when they're coming at her with everything they got. And there's a lot stacked against her here, but they never could have imagined that this story would have been so extravagant, so popularized. Someone like myself, who actually had a channel for years and had viewership that was no more than 0 to 25 people on a given night. Half of them were my own friends and family that would tune in. But you look at these stories just absolutely becoming so notable that you see your channel grow through it, and that's not what it's about. But it's with that channel growth, I feel, comes a level of responsibility, and I feel that the best thing I can do is use my time to give a campaign for these folks, Karen, Kelsey, Aiden, whomever, and do the best we can to say, well, I can do a show. Lauren can do a show. We can gather here on Lauren's show tonight. We can assemble. We can talk about the latest news. We can talk about what's going on. We can talk about what we think, what we feel about what we think is going to happen or could happen or what has happened. And we can kind of gather together for these essential rallies to raise money, which is what North Shore Nacho Night is essentially. It's a big gathering of people in a physical sense. We're a gathering of people here tonight in a digital sense that can come together and raise awareness and raise funds and encourage giving, which is awesome. And that's why the people here tonight that have donated, you guys are the heroes. You guys are the ones that have made this possible. I donate on my own fundraiser every so often, usually once a month. For one of my fundraisers, I'll do the donation for just my month. And then I usually do my donation during my own fundraiser, so it counts towards the total instead of doing it when I'm not doing a fundraiser. So I'm always like, okay, I'm going to do my monthly donation now, and then I get that in so it counts towards my total. Sorry, Lauren. I'm sorry to.
No, hey, listen, that's what I do as well. Don't worry.
Yeah. And no, it's just good to see so many people that are so giving of their money and their time here and helping out. I think that's one of the great things. And like I said, the North Shore, Not Shore people are kind of the physical sense of a fundraiser where they gather together in person. They wear their purple shirts. You know, they might not all have nachos. They might have chicken wings. They might think of me and say, I'm going to be like Madison tonight and have chicken wings. They might have, pizza, or a sub or a burger. There's a lot of things you can do. Mozzarella sticks, it's a lot more than just nachos, but it's good. It's good to see the community. Those people in the North Shore enjoy themselves. They like to get together, and it's nice because, if they all people that have become friends, they get together, they say, well, let's not only have a good night, let's do what we can do to raise money every so often. And they do very well. I mean, they do fantastic. The job they do is fantastic. And, I'm just so happy to see a good community of people because, again, we're giving Kelsey the best opportunity to protect herself in court. And it's not just for her defense, it's for her health. Any surgeries, any family needs, like her family traveling back and forth from court, paying for gas, which is huge. Thank you so much, Madam Mayhem, for the comment.
Yes, madam. Thank you so much. I'm very similar to Maza, where I might want to do like a show here or there, but like I have to be passionate about something. And when it's passionate, like it shows because I usually don't shut up on Twitter about it. And so like if I feel strongly about something, you'll know it. And so I appreciate that. Thank you. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just good. Like I said, I like to do my shows to cover news, but I also felt that, being on other people's shows or my own show when there's a fundraiser every so often, I just want to not only support someone in a sense that I talk about them, but I also want to actually have action. So it's like there's that, like let's do a fundraiser. Let's bring people together. Let's have a time where we just do what we can to help out, and it pays off. And look, I mean, we've both had fundraisers that have had record-breaking nights, other ones that are lower. It just depends. But what matters at the end is even if it's $5 that we raised that night, that's fantastic. Tonight it's $8.50 for you so far tonight. So congratulations on leading this night, Lauren.
No, I mean it's all the people who give.
Yeah.
Like that's where the credit goes, and it's
right.
It's amazing. You guys are absolutely like the most generous bunch that I've ever seen, and that's why it's crazy when like I mean just in this short time, Mazda has raised over $20,000. That is a huge chunk of money, and it is going towards her attorney's fees and health concerns. She has to go to like court ordered counseling and therapy weekly, and I believe she doesn't have insurance through the union or anything anymore, so that's out of pocket. And so I don't know anybody who's ever been to a therapist. They're not cheap. So it's and then she has to give Justin the like what $13 a week or something. Still, like to not even have access to even see her child. It's infuriating. Like you said, she sold her home. This was a home that she fixed up. And if anyone has ever fixed up a house, it is no small feat. And you have like you just have such a proud feeling afterwards. Like it's such a good feeling, like, cause you're doing the work, you're designing things like that. And then to have to sell something that you put so much like sweat and tears into and have to sell it for your chance at your freedom. And then to have this guy take your child and then come in and have the nerve to try and attempt to take your home and want the funds from your home for future child support payments because he's so certain that he's going to have him for 18 years. Get out of here. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, I cannot, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we all go through terrible things in our lives that we should never have to deal with, but I can't imagine having just like the pile on that Kelsey has had in the last year is something that I wouldn't wish for my worst enemy. Like that is, it should never be that way. And I just cannot wait for the public to be able to see the truth of the matter, we've already uncovered with January doing such a courageous thing. Honestly, he has to work with this judge all the time. And he came forward and said what happened. And I'm sure that wasn't easy for him, but like props to him for doing the right thing. To me, he's a hero because we all knew something wasn't right with that judge. And we've already uncovered that was going wrong. We've been talking about it for months now, that something wasn't handled right. It just something was off in that house with those officers, whether it be just procedure that they didn't follow, whether it be something deeper, I don't know, but that should hopefully come out in trial. And we have just people here who believe in justice, and I think whether it's right or wrong, like, it needs to be handled the right way, and it's nice to have, like, such a bunch of people who feel the same way about the system, and that there is a standard that needs to be had and are willing to, like, hold people to that standard.
Yeah. It's great, great points you've made there. And I posted this tweet. I tagged the governor of Massachusetts, and I just said there needs to be law changes in Massachusetts and any other state where a child can be taken away from one parent simply because an RO is served. There needs to be a proper procedure to allow for a temporary joint custody order to be in place until a proper child custody hearing can occur. I think that would alleviate a lot of the chaos. I think that's why I say the system's failed Kelsey here, because this law being able to pull this off is, like I said, we can villainize what's happened here as much as we want, but the real loophole here is that loophole does exist. That's how I keep looking at it. I'm just like, man, that shouldn't exist. And, I just feel that needs to be changed. But, what's good here is Kelsey is, she's been in a tough set of circumstances throughout all of this. But since December, Kelsey is starting to get victories now. Before we've talked about her child being taken away, being shot, being placed in jail, getting out of jail, going back to jail. Those were a lot of things that were negatives for her in her life. However, since December, Kelsey is beginning to see positive results. So she was released from jail in December, home confinement still, but better than jail. And then the big one was the removal of Judge Kathleen McCarthy Naiman in February. And I believe she's going to see more positive results as time goes on. And I think the best thing is we'll just do what we continue to do, praying, raising funds. But I'm looking at the new judge, Justin Jeffrey Karp, and I would say I have a very positive initial impression of him. I've learned that he, basically a man in the 80s was put in jail for a fire he never started, and basically spent years of his life there. This particular judge had overheard it, sat over, presided over it, looked into it, and ultimately decided to release that man from jail. So this was last December. In a December ruling, this is a quote here, Essex County Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Karp threw out Carver's convictions. According to the judge, a now deceased fire investigator falsely testified at trial that there was physical evidence someone started the blaze with a flammable liquid like gasoline. No such proof existed. So the Karp, who's the new judge in Kelsey's case, said the investigator relied on myths about fire that have since been discredited. I commented, this gives me confidence in the upcoming trial. We want a judge who will be fair and impartial, a judge who will not rain down fire upon Kelsey and her defense team for no apparent reason, especially when a jury is present. As always, we'll have to wait and see how the judge conducts himself during this trial specifically. The initial outlook is positive. No Kelsey supporter will miss Judge Kathleen McCarthy Naiman.
Not at all. And that's what I just, I don't know. And if you have suggestions too, it just seems like, while I am so grateful that she's off the case, that was such a huge win. I just am like, she did what she did, and like, we need answers. And I don't know, because I don't live up there, but like, if anyone has suggestions on what we can do, I know we can probably write in. We need answers. That's not allowed. That is such a huge misconduct. And I just can't get over it. It's like, I don't want that to be swept under the rug. Just that alone, that they're trying to do that, just, it pisses me off. Like, we need answers, because if she doesn't get held accountable for that, no doubt she's going to do it to someone else. And while I'm so glad she's gone, someone else could be a victim of the exact same thing if it's not handled. And like, this didn't get, it was just, it was an emotion, it wasn't on the news, it wasn't anywhere. Like, I just feel like there needs to be some kind of larger outlet that knows this and looks into it. So if anyone has any ideas or suggestions what we can all do, even those of us that live out of state or out of county, please let me know, let Mazda know. Because I know it's just, it just doesn't seem right, and I just don't want it to be swept under the rug.
It's a judge that got away scot-free, and I think that's one of the problems with our system, is they can just simply say, well, and that's what happened with the officers in the Massachusetts State Police in the Karen Reed case. Only one of them went down so far, Michael Proctor. The rest of them have basically been reassigned to other locations. But at the end of the day, Michael Proctor would still have a job right now. I'm going to be very, very honest about this. I still believe to this day Michael Proctor would still have a job to this day if it wasn't for the fact that those text messages were released and presented before that court. The state had no way of covering it up anymore. They were out there, they were factual, and they had to save face. The, other officers, still have jobs to this day. They're still out there doing their thing, whatever it may be. And, they might just have been corrupt in the Karen Reed case for all we know and nothing else. I don't know. But I did not trust them when it came to the Karen Reed case or anything Turtle Boy related. This is, one of the problems with our system still is that it's determined by them, even in the face of sufficient evidence that suggests that there is more to it than people realize. And it's, again, with this judge, what she did was wrong. And there's no question about that. We've talked about this many times. I'm happy we don't have to talk about it anymore in terms of it being a present matter. With Kelsey at the time, and many of these shows actually in jail at the time. It was one of the hardest parts about, Kelsey's path through this horrible story arc that she's going through. And I just felt that this was typical. It was, well, we got found out by Tim Bradel. January leaked the information. We got found out. And then, as always, in their sharp-tongued, cunning fashion, they have to tongue lash the defense team once again, just as they did when they were trying to get Kelsey out of jail before Christmas. Oh, why didn't you bring this to my attention earlier? Well, it's because I filed an appeal with the Supreme Court, and I can't retract that, or else I can't reappeal when I'm sure you're probably going to do something else in the future that's going to cause us to go to the Supreme Court. So no, as Tim Bradel, I'm not going to be stupid enough to appeal that. And unfortunately, Kelsey had to endure that time. But from a legally strategic standpoint, Tim Bradel did take the right steps. And that person on Twitter that said Tim Bradel is an idiot doesn't know what they're talking about. And you'll see that Tim Bradel took the best steps, given the information and given the steps that were before him as options at that time. So those were smart moves by him. It did come with a little bit of a price with Kelsey spending time in jail. But however, Kelsey wasn't necessarily so ready to take those tests prior to up through December as well, when she started to really excel at them as she started to mend. But I thought Bradel did the best job he could with the options he had at his disposal. And like I said, unfortunately, Kelsey had to spend a little bit extra time in jail because of that. But that was not a bad decision by him if you look at it in full actuality and quantify the results. Now, this, Tim Bradel being the sometimes unforgiving man that he'll need to be as an attorney, never forgot what this judge had done. And January, I'm sure, was also just absolutely so overcome with joy when that judge went to go talk to him the day before Kelsey was sent back to jail on September 11th, and decided to, apparently, from what I take, leak certain information or share certain information with Tim Bradle, who I'm sure was more than obliged with Courtney Healy and Martha Coakley to send a recusal motion out to the judges and say, this is what your judge has been up to. This is what she does behind the scenes. This is how she conducts herself. You know, she does all kinds of crazy things like this and doesn't report it to the defense team. And to me, that is a fireable offense as far as I'm concerned. We're $150 away from $1,000 on the night.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Keep them coming, guys. You guys are the best. You guys are awesome. We are so very close.
And so what does this judge do when he writes back to Bradle? Well, it's moot. Tim, your point is moot. Your point is moot, which was a slap. And again, they always going to be sharp-tongued, sarcastic with them. Like McCarthy Naaman. Well, I could have released her a month ago if you let me know. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna retract my appeal with the SJC, Your Honor. You know, and they try to put it on the attorney to make it seem like the attorney is flawed or not being logical, which is far from the truth. And the same thing happened recently when they said it's moot. It's like, I can't imagine why you're asking the judge to recuse herself when she was never going to be the judge anyways, which is interesting because Mullen Law, Lori Mullen, who's an attorney out of Fall River, was on my show, does family attorney stuff. And she said last week, even a day or two later, I believe, that Judge Kathleen McCarthy is still listed on some of the upcoming hearings, which her name needs to be changed. So it wasn't moot. It wasn't obvious that Kathleen McCarthy Naaman wasn't, it wasn't a moot point to ask for her recusal because it was obvious she was going to be the judge. This woman was trying to stick her hand in every single cookie jar that had Kelsey's name on it when it came to court hearings. This woman was all over the place. And all of a sudden, this judge is writing back to Bradle and like, I don't understand why you're asking her to be recused. She's already on another case that day. She's already scheduled for something else. It's like, look, none of us are fooled by this. You're not going to make, it's trying to save they're trying to save face because they've been embarrassed. And Tim Bradle basically had a hand of cards and he said, full house, read them and weep, is what he said.
He was so confident outside that courthouse. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what it is. Yeah, now I see why he was so confident. Like, this is it's outrageous what she did. It really is. Yeah. Absolutely outrageous. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He was
good. Like, that's fine.
He was so confident. I loved it.
I read that live on my show. I think you might have actually been tuning into that when it was live. But you might have seen my live reactions.
I was not live. I can't remember. Something was going on. I wasn't home. And then I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go back and watch it. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was reading this. I'm like, you have to be kidding me, because I expected when I read that recusal motion, I expected it to be basically, based on what we've seen in court, this judge is out of line, because I thought it was going to be like your typical standard predictable, and I don't mean predictable in a negative sense. I mean predictable as in what I would have anticipated it being, meaning we need to recuse this judge. This judge has done this, this, and that. No different than when they appealed to the SJC, something like that. But as I got deeper into that motion, I was reading things that I did not expect to read, that I did not know that Bradle had been alerted to, and that this defense team was aware of, that judge had visited January like that. And when I read that, I just was sitting there flabbergasted, like, you have to be kidding me. Like, I would never expect a judge to ever do something like that, which I found to be the most shocking, was that she was taking this upon herself. And it's like, well, then, not only that is that out of order, but why the motivation against Kelsey? If you're supposed to be a judge, fair and impartial to both sides, we're not asking for our side to be favored.
Right.
We're not asking you to favor the other side or not favor the other side. We're just asking you to be fair and impartial down the line to both sides. Preside over the case, hear both sides, hear from the prosecutor, hear from the defense attorneys. Let's take a look at what's happening here, what both sides are saying. Let's let the jury decide. But when you have a judge that is literally, I'll look at the cat. when you have a
He's
judge
like-
that's
Sorry, Mazza, go ahead.
that's it. But when you have a judge that's presiding over all of this, and she's literally going on undercover missions. Last donation was 20 minutes ago, so I'm going to ask to see who can help Kelsey get to $150 more. But thank you all.
And Nurse Kim is on her way, so she'll be here momentarily.
Perfect. Fix these glasses here. Okay, there we go. Sometimes my ears get a little sore here. Nurse Kim on her way. That's awesome. That's great news to hear. Nurse Kim is fantastic. But yes, you have a judge that's doing all these things. And oh, good. Someone just put out a nice tweet for us. I'm going to share their tweet so we can get that amplified. Anonymous Book Mouse said Mazza and Lauren are about $150 away for the night. So I'm just sharing her tweet as well, just to give it even more amplification, so we can
Thank you so much.
News out. Thank you so much, Anonymous Book Mouse. But yeah, I just can't, that judge, and I'll say this before and I'll say it again, that judge should not only have been recused, she should not only have been removed from that case, she should have been removed as a judge permanently. And I say that with the highest level of argument, that should have been what happened, because this is absolutely inappropriate. And I cannot imagine being Kelsey Fitzsimmons, because that took place a day before she went back to jail. I cannot imagine being Kelsey Fitzsimmons and saying to myself, oh my God, that judge was conducting herself in that manner outside a court of law and did not inform the defense team. And even if she had done it, the fact that she did not inform the defense team of this, that was even more, that just added to the fact.
So wrong.
This is it. Right. Yeah. I could see the prosecutor doing it. I could see Bradel doing it. I could see them having a level of communication and saying, we have some questions for you. What are your thoughts on this? Like when it came down to Kelsey.
Sorry, Mazza, not to cut you off, but we have a guest joining us. My queen, Nurse Kim. Here she is.
Lauren.
Hello, Kimmy.
Hi, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so happy to be here. I have been running around like an absolute lunatic. How are you doing are you ready? Are you prepared, Mazza?
Very, very prepared.
Are you okay? Everything. Like, I know that there's a blizzard coming your way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got extra wings in the freezer.
He's got extra wings. Listen, I've got elderly people. I've got I am a traveling, I am a circus, okay, at all times, and it never stops. I was like, get to where you need to be for Lauren, for Mazza, for Kelsey, and I'm so thankful. I was just like, then I sent the link to my email. My email was putting it in a spam box, hello, she's a nightmare. I'm sorry.
No, just happy to have you and glad you're safe. I know that the roads are probably crazy right now. And stores are probably crazy. People losing their minds.
Oh, yeah. It's what we do. There is a huge push for milk and bread. And for what reason, I'll never know. For what reason is there no milk and bread?
I don't know. Have you ever had a piece of milk or a piece of bread and put it in milk? I have never, but it's always gone. That combo, apparently we are supposed to survive on that.
Yeah, that's what's going to get us through the hard times. Now, this is going to be historic, though. I want all of our local lovies. I am a meteorologist, I thought when I was young that I wanted to be actually Harvey Leonard. He was my old school. That was just a local legend here. My Nana Phyllis loved him. We know I love Nana. Nana loved him. Therefore, ergo, I loved him. And he would have loved this. They're saying rivaling the blizzard of 78, which Lauren is lore in our area, that people were on the highway and they had to abandon their cars. It was crazy. It was, It was really, really bad. So just to everybody, all of our lovies, especially anyone down in Plymouth County, we know Jim Cantori is in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So, if Dr. Doom is there, it's not going to be good. Okay. It's not a good thing, but batten down the hatches, make sure that all of the vents guys to the house, when like for all of our home care patients, you always just want to make sure if you do have a home that your vents are there's no snow cover on them, because you just don't want anyone to have like a carbon monoxide situation or any sort of buildup that could be detrimental to your respiratory system. I love you. You're going to be okay. And if you need something, you call your local police and they will be able to like get, non-perishables. And if you need, send an email to Legal Nurse Kim. Okay. I love you.
Kim always taking care of us. Wherever she goes, she is taking care of someone. She cares. We love you, Kim. Your heart is gold. Gold. Absolutely gold.
She is not timely. Listen, she is not a timely queen, but what she is her heart is in the right place.
Yes.
So I am thrilled. I know that you guys have been doing such a beautiful job. I wanted to take a moment, if possible, and thank from the bottom of my heart to Lauren and to Maza for the work that you have done for fundraising for Kelsey. This is something that you guys selflessly do. You do it for the right reasons. You do it like so gracefully, and you show us that you can put aside anything else that is going on, either personally or on these YouTube streets or on the Twitter, streets of Twitter, and you say, hi, I don't subscribe to that stuff. All I care about is justice. And all I care about is the cases that have made impacts on our lives and that we can make a difference on. And you do it beautifully. And I'm very proud of you. And I thank you for inviting me when I'm able to join you.
Thank you so much. Maza deserves the credit. He's the one that started this and has been literally just paving the way. And if I can help out, I am so happy to do so. So we were just talking, I mean, we have the most like generous community, don't we? Like it's insane.
Unbelievable.
Insane. So it's really all of them. So it's amazing. But thank you so much. You're so sweet.
Of course. And I love this kind of like every other. Listen, if I can get my ass in on the rotation, I'd be happy to as well. If you need me, or if there's a Sunday that you say, hey, Kim, I need a break or whatever, it would be an honor, and I would be thankful. And, to have anybody that would like to join me at my house, and that we could do it for Kelsey as well.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
That's
Every
the
channel
thing.
that
Like,
can help us. Yeah.
that's the thing. This is Kelsey's case, right? This is her life. So like this case doesn't belong to anyone. It is everyone's to talk about. And like, we need everyone to talk about it. Like, and so heck yeah, if you want to do it. Everybody should be, the more the merrier. There is room here for everyone. And like, we are all outraged by this. So like, that's one thing. Like it is Kelsey's case. It is no one's case. We are here to bring, the attention to her case in any capacity that we can do. So like anyone, all of you, and when you share it, when you tweet it, it is to get it out for Kelsey. So thank you, Cam. Yes.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I'm so sorry, guys. Did you touch on at all and that might be sensitive. I don't know. Never mind. I was just going to say, there was a time that we were able to hear from Kelsey that was very poignant and very impactful. And, did you give any commentary or a take on that?
We haven't yet. I don't think that's inappropriate to talk about it. I just won't show it, but I think, speaking on it is absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, if you don't mind, then I would love to.
Go
because
for it.
I didn't play it either at my house, but I did like speak of my feelings and the message that came across, because I felt it was very powerful. There was a video, Lovies, that Kelsey put out to her community, her Facebook, and it was raw. It was real. It was just a 7-minute message, and you felt so much pain, so much heartbreak. And yet she was able to convey her feelings to me, Lauren. I was like, oh my gosh, when she's speaking about her son's first birthday, her missing that, and how he was a piece of her, and that when she would sing, "Please don't take my sunshine away," like those words in that song have such a different meaning now. And she sang that every day when I'm sure when she was pregnant and when he was born. And I mean, like, to see her strength, her resilience, but yet that vulnerability, I I was blown away. It broke my heart, and it touched every fiber of my being as a mom, as a nurse, as a woman, like just everything I felt. It was it really changed a trajectory because I hadn't seen, or you're not able to have those moments, right? You're not able to have that kind of open pour of a purge, if you will, that came from her, to be able to say, I have to sit back. I have to allow this system to do what they are going to do. And I'm just supposed to sit here. And it's hard, and it's not enough. And it just moved me. It moved me deeply. And I just wanted her to know that it was impactful. It was so impactful. And thank you to her for being brave, and for her for putting that out and being vulnerable with us and the Facebook community rather, and allowing us in, because that was a moment that if there was any damn naysayers anywhere, right? To me, that put everything to bed. It's like, look at her. Look at her. You're going to tell me that this woman wouldn't do anything for her baby? Yes, you would. You were going to tell me that this is a woman who is like not with it? Nope. 100% alert oriented ×3, and dialed in to exactly those emotions that she feels so deeply.
Yes. No, that literally, like, so well said. I just, it broke me on so many different levels, and sitting there and showing us that side of her, it was so brave. Like, she was so vulnerable, and that's what people don't understand. To be that vulnerable requires you to be brave. And for her to do that, like, that just shows another depth of her strength on a different level. And I think so many of us were able to connect to that. And like, for anyone to say anything negative about that video, like, you might need to turn around and look in the mirror, because that woman is so strong, so brave, and the love that just like radiated from her for her child, it was so clear to see to everyone. And not knowing when you're going to get your child back or hold him,
Yeah.
it just, it enraged me at the same time as it broke me. It just, it was so nice that we were able to see that, not that we should ever have to see that, but that she felt comfortable enough to share
Yeah.
that with her Facebook group, to let us see that part of her. Really took strength, and just, she's awesome. She's awesome. And that baby will never forget her, never forget his mom. He will always be a mama's boy. And the day he comes back, it will all pick up where it left off.
And that's so interesting too, is Lauren, she said, I felt so kind of connected, or I related to her so much in the fear of the unknown, right? It's that fear of, I don't know how much longer this is going to be. And I think all of us as humans, we don't know what we don't know, and to try to let God, and to have faith in what this is going to work out, and I will have him again, and I will hug my baby, and I will, and this will work out. And right now I have to just keep soldiering on. But there is fatigue. And I don't want her to feel like she is alone, or that like you can't have moments of vulnerability, or you can't fall, because when you fall, we pick you up, and we dust you off, and we don't make it weird. So just like know that you're
Yes.
not right. You're not
Yes.
like, we all stumble. Hi. And
Yes.
as someone who has unfortunately like cried on the internet, like it is, there is something that like, it's so uncomfortable for you at the second, but then afterwards you can say like, whatever, talk shit, talk whatever, do whatever you've got to do. It is freeing though. Let it, like, to me, I say to her, it is all real and
Yes.
raw is connecting and builds community, and we see you. That is how I saw her that day. And I mean, I love to see her, and I love that. I think that she looks incredible since she's been home, and I can see the shift, and I can see her going through and her spirit getting stronger. I can see it. But also the highs of highs and you being polished in front of a camera is completely different than when you're at home and you're going through it. You're still going through it every day on house arrest, right? So those are the things that I felt it. I don't know, it was palpable. I felt it. And also shout out to her lab that was loving her.
Maverick.
I go, oh my God. I was like, a good boy. I was like, and right there. And she's like, we're okay. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Like, I mean, it was, I don't know. I thought it was an incredible glimpse into what she experiences on a daily basis.
Yes, the goodest boy ever. I mean, just a protector. He knew his mom was so upset.
Yeah.
And let me just say, Maverick is more of a man than Justin can ever be. Okay, I said what I said. And it's, that's how it is. And I'm so happy that she has him. That doesn't bring her baby back, but like that is, that was her original baby, and it was her first love. And I'm happy that he is there, and he obviously is there comforting her and caring for her. And good.
And you know what? That's the thing is, like, we don't, like, those are our service animals. And even though we don't deserve animals, okay, lovies,
No.
all right. You talk at me. Look at it. We're talking about Punch on Twitter. I've been in a chokehold. That monkey has me all the way turned up. I am Team Punch. I need somebody to rescue him.
Yes.
Like, I am just like animals. I have a kindred spirit with them. And there is something like dogs are special. Kino is special. He's the bestest boy. Also, would he and Maverick like to have a play date? Maybe. I don't know. Don't make that weird, Kim. But there is things that, like, you're able to have that comfort, and that nothing else is comforting her. Do you know what I mean? But when she's looking at him and that unconditional love giving back to her and saying, I know that something is wrong. I know how you feel, and that you're sad, and mom, and something feels off with you. How incredible that he was able to, and she's comforting him then, and she's like patting him and saying, it's okay, buddy. We're good. We're going to be okay. And you are going to be okay. But how much longer? And that's why you do these fundraisers. Maza does these fundraisers. Nurse Kim is going to get off her ass and do a fundraiser, because it's coming up. I mean, trial is around the corner at this point. Yeah. Tell me, Maza, when is our next court date?
That's this week, this Friday, the 27th. I think there's someone said it was Wednesday, the 25th, but then there was a confliction on the release date. One of them said the 25th, the other one said the 27th. I'm hearing it's the 27th right now. So I'm going to have to double verify that one more time.
I can't remember which one, but it was one of those. Yeah.
I heard it was the 27th, I think is Friday. I heard Friday at 2 p.m., I believe is what it was. I'm going to double check it right now, because the crowd may know. I'm seeing it's no update here. I'll check for it, but I heard last I heard it was the 27th at 2. And
look at KY Maverick.
KY's got it. He's here for us.
He's great. We love all your posts, KY. He is just been an awesome advocate on Twitter too for Kelsey.
Absolutely.
And so many of you, like Cheech, I know, was in the chat, and she was there supporting Kelsey at her hearings and stuff. Like, you, again, just to have this sense of justice that this group has, it's really awesome, and it means so much to Kelsey and her family.
It really does. And I feel like there's more that needs to be done, lovies. Like, this is it. And I know that you're the most generous, and I know that if the spirit moves you, that you will donate, and that we will continue to just even say our prayers, even posting on your social media, Kelsey's Gives and Go. Every single thing matters. Whatever you can do, I know you do it. And, prayers go far, and they mean a lot to a lot of people. And, I remember learning about the christening of Kelsey's son, and it just, just the way in which it occurred, and the fact that Kelsey wasn't there, and that it was done in the way I feel is a nefarious intent and a manipulation and a tactic that is for not isolation. What do they call that? Alienation of a parent, because you could have worked with the courts. There could have been such a different way to go about this huge milestone, this religious milestone, that if you are Catholic and you're getting baptized, think about, I mean, I don't know, Lauren, if you are, but when I had my girls baptized, that was a big deal for us. It was a big deal for my
Sure.
family. It was everybody. I mean, like, to pick our godparents, which I know that there was real problems because Kelsey's sister was supposed to be his godmother, and then Justin did not allow those wishes that had already been discussed to actually be the plan that went through. But when you think about those milestones, it is used specifically to weaponize against Kelsey, that you're not involved, in my opinion. Now, this is all, like, I don't know, clearly I'm not in his head, but that's what it appears as. That is what anyone with, working brain cells would say, hey, wow, that's really shady. The shade of it all, because it's not like a second Tuesday, you're going to a play date, of the month. This is a life, like a lifelong. Those photos, that moment with God, that coming together of families and faith, and the moment for her son, that was done without her. And it was because of a plan, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. It was planned. And
Yes.
that is things that why we say we fight. We continue to fight for her, because you can see it. You can see the writing on the wall. You can see that that doesn't sit in my spirit well. And that she is, battling these things every single day, guys. She was remembering, like, not only is my baby turned 1, but he also had this milestone and this milestone. And I am a sitting duck that is being held from him, not allowed even the common courtesy of a damn, kind of a supervised visitation.
Right.
Like, what is happening? It feels like a setup against her by all aspects of court. You're looking at family court, you're looking at Essex Superior, you're looking at everywhere and saying, what? Wait a minute. Based on the totality of the evidence, and you're seeing that Kelsey is the one who was actually almost could have been mortally wounded. No one else was shot. You were in her home. You removed her baby. You had an ex parte order from her baby daddy. What are we doing here? A plus B does not equal C, my friends.
Exactly.
And that is concerning on a lot of levels.
It's so concerning. I mean, it is. That's why, like, it just, when I get unmad about this case for a minute, then I think about something, and it's like, it's a whole nother level of, like, frustration. And we were talking earlier, like, just the pile on of stuff she's been through, like getting cheated on, having to kick him out of the house, having the police come and take your child, then being shot, then having to, like, wake up and realize, like, okay, this wasn't a dream. I'm actually fighting for my life, and my son is gone. And then having to literally, once you're able to come to court, and then you get thrown in jail for asking for a revision to your bond.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, no one should have to go through the amount of things that she's been through, and
Not at all.
to see that she is still in good spirits, and it's amazing. She is a very strong woman, and the truth is going to come out very soon, and I'm ready for that for her.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear. I like you. Listen, usually I would say I would want everything to be dismissed, and I would want, just her to go on with her life and be free of it. In this specific case, because of the way this has played out, I look forward to a trial. I look forward to truth. I look forward to facts. I look forward to the North Andover Police Department figuring out how, in God's name, are you going to spin this? And a jury of 12, it is my humble opinion, will, oh, hello, baby. Hello. Will absolutely acquit her.
Yes. Oh yeah. easy. I think this will be an easy case for them. We already know the grand jury didn't buy Noonan's story, so that that is such a low bar to get an indictment from the grand jury on anything really. And so I cannot wait for that day and for her to get this behind us, because then she gets her baby. That's what I know really matters to her. And the fact that Judge McCarthy Naiman put some kind of thing in the order where she couldn't even fight that, to where she couldn't even get supervised visitation, is infuriating and so wrong. And I don't know. It's disgusting.
And what was going on, guys? Can you give me up to speed with, so Bradel had filed the motion to recuse, correct? But then they just moved it anyway, correct? So now that's interesting, huh?
They came back saying it was moot, because what they did was they basically reassigned the judge off the case. But then when they went back to Bradel, they basically made the comment like, well, it's moot. What's the point in even making this motion to recuse her when she's not going to be the judge anyways? Which was nonsense, because according to Mullen Law, who was on my fundraiser last week, Kathleen McCarthy Naiman's name was still on a lot of those upcoming dates. And that was all nonsense. So no, she wasn't never going to be on there. Her hand was in every little aspect of every single hearing and motion that was going through and being filed. And then once that motion to recuse came in, basically, like I said, she got to use the term by Bradel in January, and they basically put them in check with that explosive motion to recuse. And that courthouse had to basically say, well, let's just pivot her off this, so she doesn't have to recuse, to make sure this judge has the least amount of responsibility. Because let's just ignore the fact about what she's done is absolutely out of order here, and unbecoming of a judge that, quite frankly, should not only recuse herself, but should be removed as a judge entirely. It was shocking. But Tim Bradel,
spicy Maza.
Oh yeah. Tim Bradel got her. He pulled out a full house of cards there to basically say, guess what? It's like Elaine walking into the soup store there. I can't say the last part of the guy's name on air, but saying, I got your recipe next. That's basically what he did to that judge. It's like, you're out of here. And for all of us that always wanted to see that happen to Judge Beverly Cannoni, it was very refreshing and very rewarding to see it happen to Judge Kathleen McCarthy Naiman, because I'll be honest with you, she might have been twice the wicked witch that Judge Bev was.
I agree.
And how scary is that? How scary is that?
Ooh,
yeah,
terrifying.
And it's so disappointing, just as like a comment, as a mass fraud, like a mass hole, like anonymous, well, what you just sit there and it's like, I am so impressed by women in Massachusetts. Like, we're kind of scrappy. We're kind of, old school in certain ways, independent, smart, but still down to earth and not like, whatever. We're not yuppie. Well, some of us are, some of them are, but not me. But like, you just sit there and you think to yourself, all of the role models or all of the women that came before you. And it's like, then I see these two examples in such important positions in our government and on a bench. And I see you treating other women defendants in the way in which you have. And it is shocking to me. It is like, poison to my spirit for some reason. It's like, oh my God, for everything that we've gone through, right, broads? Like, this is who you are. And this is where I see the shortcomings. It is tragic.
Yeah. You expect more empathy sometimes for women. But in these cases, I just feel like we're due for some good judges, because the last few that we've seen have really just put a bad taste in our mouth for a good judge. And Maza's dug up some articles on this new one. And so we are like hopeful that he is going to be a kind, fair judge. Like, that's all we want. That's what anyone deserves. And so hopefully he will have that sense of justice, just to do things fair. And then that's all we can hope for. The rest will right itself, because the truth doesn't have to worry and doesn't have to be scared, and it will be out there and it will be good. Guys, I think we're only like $25 away from $900.
Yeah.
that would be huge to get. And so if anyone has the means to contribute, and like I said, $5 here, $5 there, that adds up to such a larger amount. And so any donation of any kind is not too small. So you guys are awesome. Let's see here. There were some good comments that I wanted to see here. Yeah, this one, I believe God spared her life because the baby boy needs her in his life. And that's the thing. Like, your child needs both parents. And people are going to break up, people are not going to last. That is part of life. And the fact that he wasn't man enough to just be like, "Hey, okay, that's fine, but I'm not going to make it affect my child." It's gross. It is disgusting. And it's ultimately the only person that's hurting is Caden. And, you know, jokes on Justin, because that child is going to be the one suffering, and you're the one doing it. And I just can't wait for the day when we get an update on that Facebook group, like with Caden back in her arms and, where he deserves to be. That's going to be one heck of a day. And I know that probably is what is getting Kelsey by these
Yes.
awful days.
No, absolutely. And I think
900.
that 900.
Hey,
Woo! Good job.
awesome.
I was trying
You
to
guys
get
are
there, Mark. I was
amazing.
donating too.
Oh, you guys are amazing. Amazing.
I'm curious to see the future. 10, 15, 20 years now, talking about Caden specifically, a 10, 15, 20-year look back on how he's going to come to perceive everything. Because the internet exists, and any one of us can Google your own name, your parents' name, your siblings, anybody else you can Google their name in a heartbeat. This information is going to be on the internet, whether it's on a Twitter page or on, NBC Boston or something else. The video that she just released this week, for goodness sakes, is going to be still to some degree in an archive or on some website in the future for him to see. And I'm just very curious to see what the future will look like for him when he comes to look back and say, 10, 15, 20 years, and what is his thought process going to be on this whole situation. This is a massive, instant life-shifting moment in his life. This is there have been infants that their parents have died tragically, in this reality. We just saw today during the gold medal game, one of the hockey players was killed bicycling 2 years ago. His wife was an attendant, widowed wife, and young daughter and young son, both under the age of probably 4 years old tops, were actually ushered out by a few of the players onto the ice to take part in the team photo while the father's jersey was held by one of his teammates. It was a moment that had Mike Tirico of NBC Sports pretty much on tears on the air. And probably a lot of people were crying in the stadium, in the arena, and as well. These are moments that are absolutely tragic. And when, even though there's no death here, there is a future look back where kids in life that have such moments take place so young in their lives, under 10 specifically, that they come to look back at their lives, and these do mold their lives. They do mold the lifestyles, and they do have an influence on how their family is shaped, how their upbringing is shaped. And these are very big moments. And a lot of times these kids, when they grow up, they tend to either have a chip on their shoulder in some sense about one parent or the other, or they have maybe almost like a Bruce Wayne Batman fictional character. This character lost his parents, where they're kind of upset or perhaps a little brooding over, such a bad thing happening to them so young, where they potentially may have a negative outlook at life and reality, in a sense, seeing such, tragic things happen so early. But it's, for this young child, this is both parents are alive, but this kid will one day learn that his mother was shot, that his mother went to jail. And Yep. And, these are things that are going to be things he's going to eventually look at and say, why was my mother crying? What, because he's going to ask, these kids, they go to school and they ask about, they see the other kids, they see the family models, and the kids will always ask questions about themselves, and it depends on how soon Kelsey will get Caden back in her life. But if this ends up being a few years down the road, eventually, God forbid, sooner rather than later, joint custody at the very least, full custody is what she deserves, in my opinion. But, these are things that this kid's going to start to dig into. He's going to start to ask questions. He's going to start to say, what was my life like back then? I remember doing that. I asked my parents, what year did you guys get married? How did you guys meet? Those are questions. Every kid questions their origin story because they only remember so much of their early life, if anything, before the age of 3 or 4 or 5. And they always wonder where they came from, their origin, what happened. And this kid's going to hear a story that is told to him by one side, both sides, or one side or the other. And, I can only imagine what his reaction is going to be one day. I mean, for me, if I found out my mother was shot, I'd have a serious problem with that. But like I said, this is something that's going to have a permanent, lasting impact. And if that kid decides for himself that, holy crap, I can't believe this was done to my mother, this is going to be a lot more, the long-term effect of this is going to be a lot more than who has possession of the child, but it's really going to be the child deciding for themselves which parent that they choose to love and care about, and whether or not they have a real negative opinion of that other parent, regardless of whoever's won in the interim. But the long-term is really what's going to matter. And I think that the long-term is going to favor Kelsey. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I was just going to say, unfortunately, he's so young that he's not going to remember in these early stages. But when he gets 2, 3 years old, he's going to see her scars and he's going to ask mommy what happened. Like, he's going to learn what happened. And then he's going to be old enough to read. And then he's going to.
And kids are so mean too.
Yes. And that's why I'm just like, dude, Justin, like, you're only hurting your child. Why? Like, for us, this should, Mazza says this all the time. This should only be a custody thing. This should not have been what it is.
Yep.
But because you decided to be a slime ball and sneaky, now your child is going to read about all the things that you caused and that his mom had to go through. And he's going to see that video. And honestly, I'm glad. I don't know how Kelsey feels about that, but I'm glad he could see it, because anybody who watched that video can see the love that she has for her child. And that child is going to feel that and know what a horrific time that she has had trying to fight for him, and know that she's fighting for him. And so that is on a whole nother level. I'm so glad that that video is there for him to see when it's appropriate age-wise.
Yeah, because that gives the facts, right? That's not a side. That's not a, that's just the video evidence. So, and you do have to think to yourself, when somebody is making, or maybe has a narcissistic tendency, or, just or relationships end. And unfortunately, who we choose to have children with matters, right? And I just think that it is very interesting that maybe there wasn't a forethought of how he may look and 100% be the villain in this, which, although you may have prevented time from Kelsey at this stage of the game, later in life, when the truth is known and when he's able to make his own decisions as a young man, I don't think that this is going to be in a favorable light for his father, and that those decisions, you should be always thinking about your child's best interest. And I feel that their child was not thought of by Justin at all. It was very self-serving and self-preservation, and just him being able to do what he would like to in a situation, and didn't like an outcome because of potentially his actions. So let's just, God, karma, God,
Karma.
and the American dream. Can we keep things alive? And today that we
Yes.
say, not today, Satan. Okay, we had an amazing victory for Team USA this morning for hockey. We have hockey back. We've taken it. Now, what does Canada have? Nothing. You know what Canada can have? Justin.
Poutine and Justin.
Deport him. Okay, that's what we're giving Canada. Canada, you can take Justin, and everything else is ours. We're winners.
Yeah, congratulations to the U.S. men's team. That was what a game. That was awesome. 40-something years since that's happened. Incredible. Congrats to them. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, is this even going to be? I was like, really? It's never going to be the Miracle on Ice. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a Miracle on Ice 2.0 to the very same day, 46 years later.
That stop that he had where it was like an open net goal and he just stuck his stick and blocked it. That's always going to be like the defining image of that game. That's always going to be like, yeah.
Do you know that did you know that he went to UMass Lowell?
I did not know that. I saw him play. It's funny. The last hockey game I was at, I was the Winnipeg Jets in the Boston Garden, January 30th of last year. So I looked it up during the game. Like, I might have seen this guy play, but I didn't know he played for UMass Lowell. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's just like local college, right? For me, like that is, I didn't go to UMass Lowell, but I have a lot of family that did. And long story short though, it's like that local pride, because UMass Amherst is like big for Amherst usually gets all the glory, but now I've got a UMass Lowell, just like, kicking ass and taking names. I loved it.
You guys don't know this. I don't think anyone knows this. So I used to go to like every single hockey game in Atlanta before they moved the Thrashers to Winnipeg. And so I was the biggest hockey fan, knew like all of the players, knew all of the rules, knew everything. And I haven't, like the last few years, I've just kind of not followed it as much. So today was like, I love this sport. And it was just so nice to see. And it was a really cool thing just that we were able to do that. Like, it's Canada, like there's no better hockey than Canada. And today we were better. So there's that.
And shout out to our women's team too, taking the gold. Men's hockey, women's hockey. 2026. What a world. It gives you a little pep in your step. I said, oh, is it the year of the fire horse? It is.
Damn,
okay.
Yes. I was just going to say, I was like, and I couldn't think. I was like, is it the dragon? Is it the fire dragon? It's fire horse. Cause I was watching your thing and it is. That's why it's this year. I like it.
Listen, babe, I'm telling you, we've got, we went through a lot. We were shedding.
No more shedding.
Yeah, no. Can we be done? Okay. Yeah. But no, I'm so excited. And I just, I feel as though how sometimes things are like destined, guys, or like you feel it in your bones, something that you're like, this is fated or whatever. This year, I'm telling you, if you've got the tinglies, if you're feeling your spidey sense, go with it.
Yes.
Lean into it. If you're afraid, lean further. Okay. I don't know why I'm saying that, because I'm the most anxious human being that has ever lived, but I'm leaning. Okay. And I just encourage us all to, and I feel like it's coming to a circle, it was a closing of a circle of somehow, and now we are moving on and forward and all good things. So I'm wishing that on Kelsey. I'm wishing that for Karen. I'm wishing that for Aiden. I'm wishing that for Lauren. I'm wishing that for Maza and his second set of wings that he has in the freaking freezer. I'm wishing it for all of us. So let's manifest destiny, lovies.
Yes. No, nothing good comes in comfort zone. So to push yourself, that is the way to go. It's hard, but it's really it's a reward afterwards. And think about it, like Kelsey putting herself out there that way, that wasn't her comfort zone.
No.
And look at all the people that she is touched by that video, who have felt somewhere similar to where she is and was, and have reached out. I know she's had a lot of people reach out to her saying like, you're going to get through this. I was like in a similar place, and look at me now, and I got through this, and you're going to get through this. And so because of that, I think, people were reached by this story because she put herself out there like that, and it was beautiful, and it was strong, and it was like raw, and it was awesome.
I so agree. And I think like that, maybe it's, I don't know, because like, isn't it funny if I'm sitting up on a stage or whatever this is, like on the screen, on the desk, I'm lost in a desktop, guys, but they're like, we might come on here. And I think that social media in a lot of ways has given people highlight reels of everyone's life. And, it's not all a highlight reel, right? Like if you go on Instagram, you see all the pretty. If you go on Facebook, unless it's like 4 people that that tell you only the bad things that happen in their life, you are only seeing highlights of everyone's life. And it is so frightening to like have an off day, like to have a real moment, to have an ugly moment, to have people see you when you're not polished and put together because of what social media has become. But I'll tell you this, if you can let people see it, or you can let people just get access to you, that if you can let it go and not be afraid of it, there's so many more people that can relate to you, or that they've gone through it, and that they could say, hey babe, I've been there. I never knew that you were doing like that, something like that you had gone through. And it's powerful because a community, social media being, bringing us all together, the realness of it is something that I think lacks at times. And I think that her doing that was just one more example of us seeing beyond and being able to have a moment of respect, of clarity, and of really the depth of what she is going through with what she was able to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Maza, how is that for you? Because I know like me and Kim, like I know she's coming in with fire horse facts. I love it. Maza, I know for me and Kim, like we related to that like on a woman basis. How is it for you seeing that like as a man and all of that, if you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I look at this from more of a parental perspective than a man versus woman perspective, because I honestly just see like a situation in which someone who's a parent was really sabotaged. It was kind of the same thing with Karen and what she went through. Was someone that was sabotaged. So for me, I'm kind of looking at it from my level of identification as, well, I can't identify on as a man on a woman level. I can identify on like, I'm not even a parent. I mean, at that, I'd like to be one day, hopefully we'll see. But, I as a hypothetical parent, potentially in the future, I would say, if I was a parent, this would be a horrible thing to see happen to somebody. For me, I'm more of like a police person in terms of like, looking at cops that are doing bad. I'm mostly pro-police. It's just that I understand that not all cops are good, and there's some dirty cops there, and I think they need to be really exposed. But through this too, I also don't like corruption in our justice system, even in the political system. I don't look at it from a right or left perspective, but more like as I've heard Nurse Kim say, it's a centrist perspective, more so, or it's more like, regardless of party, people should be, conducting themselves in a certain manner. It's the same thing with our judicial system. What I'm starting to see is, I've always felt there's corruption out there. I've always felt that exists, but I've also seen it at a deeper level. My education level and all this has grown since 2023. Little did I know, when I was starting to cover Karen Reed's case in the late spring of 2023, started talking about it on X in summer 2023, that here I'd still be in 2026, now moving on to primarily, Kelsey's obviously my primary thing I'm focusing on. Due to its trial level. That's why this is getting the priority for me right now. I also feel like Karen has more great people out there helping her. So, there's plenty of support that was there for her this past week too. But, I just feel like I don't like to see someone have something ripped away from them I don't like to see things go unchecked, meaning, like I said, I feel like both her and the father of the child should have an opportunity to deal with this in court before what happened happened. I don't like the fact that what's happening is being done without her. She was sabotaged. She was blitzed. She was taken by surprise. She's a woman enjoying her afternoon with her child, not expecting anything to really happen in an uneventful manner that day. Suddenly there's a knock on the door. The cops are in her home in about 2 seconds. There's really no time for them to express why they're there. They get access to the house, in my opinion, without ever formally telling her that until they got in the house. And at that point, it was a little bit more, I think she felt a little blitzed and taken by surprise in the sense that, this is absolute sabotage, not only by the RO being served, but by those that were serving it as well. And I just don't like the fact that parentally, this woman's life was turned upside down. She was shot, child was taken, obviously lost her fiance all in one day. And for me, I have to admit, I always felt that there was another person out there that was similar to Karen Reed. I would utilize, my channel in the state that it's in to assist in any way I possibly could. And I thought fundraising was the number one thing I could do, based on how effective it was. My participation was in as a part of the whole with everybody else, in this Karen Reed circle. But it makes me sick. I just don't like to see any human being ever really have the deck stacked against them. That's one of the things I really hated so much about what happened to Karen Reed. And John O'Keefe obviously lost his life. But I didn't like the gang mentality where multiple people at multiple layers were acting against Karen Reed. And we still see that to this day, where there's people that show up at courthouses to harass Karen instead of leaving her alone. And I see Kelsey this week. I thought the video was perfect. I really did. I thought it was absolutely, I kind of stood there I was more attentive the first time I watched it. Like, what's she going to say? Where's she going with this? What's going to come up? What's going to be said? I was kind of anticipating on the edge of my seat, like, listening to her story. And then I watched it right back immediately afterwards. That's when all the psychological effects took place. It was like, I already knew what she was going to say, but I kind of got very morbid. I was really quiet for probably the next hour. I don't remember ever really having positive or negative feelings the rest of that night. I saw it around 9:00 at night, I think. And I was just very beside myself. It was because I truly think that when I do this stuff, and I've had people say this to me that know me very closely, I really don't think I understand the reality of how I'm contributing. I just think that I do this naturally and don't think it sometimes I forget, even when I saw Karen in person and, I was at a few of her dinners and I kind of forget oh, I'm someone that helps her out. Like, I just forget that, or someone that supports. I kind of forget it. I don't really think of the reality that, I'm impacting, I'm participating in an impact of her life for Karen in a positive way. And when I see Kelsey, it's like my brain goes, oh yeah, that's right. This is the person I'm helping. And, you kind of forget sometimes that they're a real person because you get so caught up in talking about them that it's more like a story you're following, but the person. But when you see Karen in person or Kelsey, releasing that video, they almost become more real to life than, because you always envision, what happened, envision what they're going through, assemble the facts. But then when you see them have those vulnerable moments, like when Karen was outside the courthouse at the end of her trial, she's shaking and shivering in the courthouse. It's like, oh my goodness, this is the raw reality of what's going on here. And I think that a lot of times we look at the story, we read the documents, and a lot of times Kelsey's just, you see Kelsey, she's in and out of court. She makes a speech, but mostly it's her attorney speaking. And I thought that Kelsey, I don't know, it might have just been for her an opportunity to just kind of share, or, for her just to have an opportunity to feel a connection with people, because on that night, it was, Valentine's Day happened recently. And I hate to say this, but anyone that's been recently widowed, it's like an anniversary date. Your lover is no longer around. Maybe Karen obviously would clearly feel that way recently with John O'Keefe losing his life. It's a loss. It's a lonely night. It's, it's like Christmas without your parents around or a sibling passed. You know, you feel a maximum level of loneliness. And I think Kelsey obviously felt that and a way I can't possibly ever imagine. But, you know, I think at the same time, whether she had that intention or not, I think she hit all the marks in terms of conveying to us exactly who we thought she was and is. And I also think it reaffirms her innocence in all of this as well. And it made me more motivated to help her out as someone who's already, you know, taken a lot of time to do that. But it only really like, you know, I actually like shamed myself after I watched, like, I'm just not doing enough to help her. I'm like, wait a second, shut the heck up. Yes, you are, you know, and I'm like, you know, but I felt like that motivation to be like, you know, we needed to do something. And I, you know, my attitude was like, this is why I do these fundraisers, because I want to, and it's whether I'm hosting them or on somebody else's, but this is, you know, this woman's dealing with a real life situation. And on Thanksgiving, you know, I about 5 or 6 times, like we, before dinner, I think about her, during dinner briefly, after, you know, every now and then it would just, the thought would come into my head, like, she's sitting in solitary confinement right now where everybody else is having turkey and mashed potatoes with gravy and pie, and she's in jail for ridiculous reasons right now. And it just made me so sick. And throughout the night, every now and then I'd have like a 10-second thought, 15-second thought about her, and just go quiet for a minute. Just like, this is just, you know, I just don't like to see people in these situations, and especially people I just don't think have done anything wrong. And I think that's with Karen. And if someone say, well, how can you say that when she put a firearm on herself? Well, consider the circumstances. And I think you'll find the answer to that yourself. This is a horrible situation for anybody to face. A child's involved here, and on top of it, she was shot. And, you know, I do believe her narrative that she went to go put the firearm to her own head. It's just sad. It's tragic. But, you know, for me, I just, again, I see it from a human standpoint, because I can't identify, you know, I don't have that woman to woman, as a man, don't have that woman to woman connectivity. But for me, like I said, it's just, I don't like to see people isolated, bullied, you know, and pushed around. I just feel like it's something we can do to help people. So those are my thoughts.
Maza, that was
Yes.
beautiful.
Thank
That
you.
was so articulate. That was
Yeah.
so meaningful. And like, I think that
Yeah.
you just explained, and to talk about like a morbidity or more like mortality, right? Like also of her, just when you're looking and going, oh, like how real is this? And just sitting there and saying, I didn't have a positive or a negative moment after that, because I was just like on a loop with it, right? Like just thinking about like, oh, and she just said that. And you're so analytical, Maz. I love that
Yeah.
about you. But
Thank
like
you.
that his brain goes to like, I had to listen to what she said first. Then
Yeah.
I was able to go back and get that emotional message, like the
Right.
emotional part of it. And I mean, we all hear and see different things, but at the end, it comes back to this woman who has undergone so many battles and is being, in my opinion, is taking arrows from everywhere around her and suffering consequences at the hands of people that are supposed to be protecting, serving, who are here to be unbiased and are supposed to do justice. And she's just getting the short end of the stick. And that's why Maza shows up every day, every weekend for her. And don't ever get down on yourself and say, I'm not doing enough, sir, because you do the Lord's work and you do the Maza's work, and you are doing it so well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're so special, Maza. You always have been. But like,
You
I
are
love
too.
hearing that. No, stop.
Yeah.
But
You both are. You both are.
Yeah.
You both are.
Yeah, it's just she is special. Kelsey is special. And I hope, I always said that, and you said it too, Maz, a long time ago, is that I always would think back, I don't know if I could have been Karen Reed. I don't know if I actually do know I could not have been Karen Reed. I would have folded, because I would have crumbled under that pressure. And I think as well as Kelsey, seeing another young mother put in situations that are just stacking the odds against her again and again, from being almost fatally wounded to being incarcerated to, being released and yet without your child, unable to visit. These are things that like regular humans, as of you and me, we could not, or maybe not withstand it all at the same time. And yet two of the most ardent soldiers are able to go through, and they were picked for a reason. And I pray that God continues to protect them, and that they are surrounded by us, by family, by friends, and by a spirit that is just of like the saints' protection at all times, because there's not many people that could walk the path.
Yeah, that was so well said by both of you. And to echo like kind of what you're saying, Kim, like nobody should have to go through what she's going through. And while these fundraisers are mostly to try to help her with her defense fund to get through this, to fight for her life and fight for her baby's life, they're also to get her case out there. But also like I can only imagine like that it probably picks her spirit up that a bunch of people who haven't even met her her, believe in her innocence, believe in the type of person that she is. When others have turned their back on her, that like people see the type of person that she is, and they're willing to step up and be like, no, we got you. Like, and it's okay to have a down day, but like people here, it is a very good sense of community. And these people who have been donating, they genuinely care. And like that's the thing, like they genuinely care. And I think that is a morale booster for Kelsey as well. And if we've ever been in a time in our life where we needed somebody to see us, we needed somebody to say we believed you, man, I can only imagine that has really picked her up on her down days, and I hope so, at least. And so again, just all this community is fantastic, whether it's a creator like Maza and Nurse Kim, who make us happy watching them, bring us some laughter and some insight, like, or the people in the chat making a chat environment fun, or donating their hard-earned money. Like, it is really just a great place to be. And I'm so glad that Kelsey has let us speak and try to help her when we can, because that is something that, you can put your head down at night and feel good about that. So everybody should feel good about, donating and all of that they've done. It's a big deal.
It shows a lot of appreciation to her followers too. I felt that she felt comfortable enough to share that video, or whomever shared it on her behalf, or for her to have someone else share it on her behalf, whomever posted it anonymously. Shows that she is very grateful, in a sense, that she would be open enough to share that information with us and how she felt on that night. I think Karen as well, there's only so many moments where, Karen can express the gratitude. But it's just like I said, I don't know why God chooses certain people like Kelsey and Karen. But I like what that comment, I think a lot of great comments on that, but that comment stuck with me tonight, that, God ensured he would protect Kelsey from dying for a reason. And that was, I think God does not want to ever see, unfortunately, evil happens in our world. And a lot of times there are dark endings in certain chapters of people's lives. But, in this particular one, I feel like God's, making sure that, Kelsey's going to prevail here. And that's why I have the level of faith in all this that I do. I just feel like I just see that, for me, I just feel that same thing in her that I see in Karen, in her, what I saw in Karen. It's a different, it's a different person. It's a different scenario, but it's that same thing all over again in terms, in terms of this. I think we might have hit 1,000. Let's see. Serby Creative's telling me some things here in the comments. We hit it. We were over.
Woo! You guys are fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yay.
And congratulations to everybody on assembling together to do this tonight too, within the 3 hours too. But yeah, I just feel like, there's a purpose that, sometimes it's just God protecting, just ensuring that, things are happening and they're unjust, and he's making sure that you're, the bullet, even if you do get hit by a bullet, it's off to the side just enough to keep you alive, to protect you. And, I don't know. I just feel something big here, and I feel compelled again, like I do with Karen, because somebody asked me that outside the courthouse back in 2024. Why are you here? And I said, honestly, I felt compelled, and I really don't understand why. And it was like the same thing with this one too. I felt compelled, and I don't really understand why, but I'm somehow driven to follow and support here. And her best days are ahead. And I'll tell you one thing: Karen's life was filled with a lot of negative. I would call a lot of bad days, a lot of negative losses, a lot of dark moments. And then once it started to go good, it was slow but sure. But before that list we started to assemble of people that lost their jobs, and Karen Reed's victories started to grow. And Kelsey, in my opinion, has already got 2 big wins.
Yes.
Released from jail. And I feel not only, I mean, I can't say which one's bigger because they're both big, but that judge being removed was huge. Woo! Because this judge was going to wreak havoc on this trial, and she's out of there. Thank God for that. As I don't feel like dealing with an Auntie Bev, and I pray Jeffrey Karp, the new judge, will be what we've seen to him in that other case he covered, where he's just earnestly presiding over it impartially and just running the courtroom as a neutral judge should. That's all we ask. That's all we ask out of him. But this other judge, the fact she's compromised the second she threw her in jail, in my opinion. And I'm hoping this judge will make some amendments to some of the things that Kathleen McCarthy has. Maybe he can go back and amend some things in rulings she's made. I'm pretty confident that Bradle's team will probably have some motions to make on Friday. So I'm imagining that team's already way ahead of the curve here. But that defense team's done a great job. And I don't want to ever hear anybody say anything negative about that defense team. People sometimes have some things to say about Bradle negatively online. Fully disagree. He's done a great job.
Yeah.
Bradle is great.
Yeah.
Great. And Courtney Healy has been such a
angel
staple for her. Yeah. Like God bless her. Like she has just uplifted Kelsey on so many levels. So yeah. Absolutely.
Maza, I just wanted to say to you one last thing is about so when you say I feel compelled to be here and I don't know why, or I feel compelled to stand up for and to fight for Karen and now for Kelsey, I also felt that way deeply, and I would always liken it to the Super Bowl 51 Patriots comeback, the comeback of the century. Okay, the best comeback in football history from 28-3, and then coming back to win Super Bowl 51. And, you got to believe. And it's just one play at a time. Right. Yep. And it was like, everyone people left that stadium and were like, this is the worst loss ever. Third quarter. I mean, think about it, guys. If you remember it, like that feeling, I swear I became closer to God that night. I was like, Tom Brady may he has some kind of relationship with Jesus, because it did not make, I was like, it's impossible. And it wasn't impossible. So every time, and I would say it to Nathan Reed, and him and I would laugh, not laugh, but I'm like, I feel it in my bones. Like I felt it once they made that first play and they got that one touchdown. And then it was within 2 touchdowns. And then it's a 1 touchdown game. And then we're 2 points away and we need to convert. Those are the things that it's like, if you just keep driving it one at a time, you can see that, oh my God, is this opening up to something that is bigger and destined, if you will. Sorry.
I agree. Weird. No, it's perfect, because that's, I've had that thought and that analogy in my head as well, because ultimately Kelsey and Karen are playing from behind. When you start off in these scenarios, you're starting off in negative territory with that down, having to fight your way back to it, and eventually, like you said, that you're down by a deficit, and then eventually you start to get through it. Now you get over the hump. Like Karen, she's pretty much over the hump once she got out of that trial, and now it's like some touching up to do with some civil trials and the phone nonsense. But it is, you are starting in a deficit when you begin this, when you're Kelsey and Karen, and the more and more, once the momentum starts to get going, like one win in December, 1-1 in February. And there was a while there where, with Karen's, it was just like, when are we going to start to see progress? And even Kelsey said that herself in her video. It's taking too long. Right. Exactly. That's the horrific aspect of all of this, is the length of time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that's horrible about it, is it just I used to say about Karen, I think it was I might even said it during the first trial. I just felt that Karen Reed was time away from being declared innocent. In other words, she's going to be declared innocent. It's just time away from that happening. And I feel the same way about Kelsey. I do believe she's going to prevail with absolute confidence. It's just time away, and the time away is the hardest aspect. And with Kelsey, I don't want to say, I hate to compare her and Karen and say, I just will be honest. I hate to admit it, but I do feel Kelsey. I think it's obvious here. Kelsey, I don't even want to say it, but I just feel Kelsey's in an even tougher circumstance because she got shot and had her kid taken away. I just feel like, I hate to say it. I don't want to ever take away from Karen, but I just feel like, I feel like Kelsey has an added set of circumstances. But Karen also had the murder charge. Karen actually had heavier charges, obviously, with greater punishment potential coming her way than Kelsey does, obviously. So there's kind of the lines kind of move in different ways for each of them. But I just feel like, with Kelsey, it's like, with Karen, it was always about getting acquitted. With Kelsey, it's about, I'd say getting her child back is almost bigger than being acquitted at this point.
Yeah.
Even though being acquitted is a must-have win, but it's the kid losing a kid's worse. I mean, I'm not going to speak for her, but I almost say it, not seeing the kid is worse than anything else that's happened up to and including being shot, if that might sound extreme to say. But I do believe a mother's love for their child runs that deep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just, and I just, I don't know. I thank her so much for letting people in to see that side of her. And I know that on so many levels, that was probably so hard, on another level that, maybe no one's thought about too, is like, she's a cop. She's a female cop. She has to come off kind of tough. She's always had to do that, like in her career. I know Claudia King, who is on, a few of these fundraisers with us, she can attest to that, like to put your guard down and all of that, to let the public in to see the pain that you're going through. Like that is, I just applaud her for that. And I completely understand like why she would feel comfortable with it being on her page. Then Twitter's a different beast, like that's a whole nother different thing. But even though it made its way there, I don't want her to feel ashamed or embarrassed. Like, you look like an absolute warrior, and just, you're a queen. She is a queen. She will come out of this victorious. No way that, these people who have their own agenda are going to prevail. She will prevail over them, and it's going to be nice. It's going to be good. With that said, I think we're coming up on the 3-hour mark, and thank you guys like so much for being here and giving us your precious time, and especially with a storm coming in, and making time to come over here and talk about the case with me and support and all of that. And I don't know if you guys, I know Mazza was thinking about trying to go to, now that it's getting close, like trial will be here next month. I'm going to do my best to come up there. I just am kind of waiting to make sure that is the actual date before I book anything. So I don't know if you'll be around, Kim, but I would love to hang with you at some point if I do make my way up there.
If you come up, you are actually going to come to my house, okay?
Oh.
Like the YouTube house. You could come to my house. And if I have any, I'm going to try to get some PTO time because that's up in my neck of the woods. So I'm Middlesex County,
okay.
but that is far closer for me than going down to Dedham. And so I would love to. And I hope that you're able to come, and to thank you to everybody. Look at all these lovies, okay? And look at all of these. Lauren, what do you call your people?
I don't know. We gotta think of something. I'm not as witty and as smart as you, Kim. So maybe.
No, yes, you. Oh my gosh, stop it. Yes, you are.
No, you have no. Kim, you are meant, like, literally. You are a natural. You were meant for this. Like, my mom, who is in her 80s. We were watching you like during the trial when she was here. I had surgery on my foot, and she was like, "She is a natural," and I was like, "Isn't she? She's so freaking good." Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
Just like without a second thought, she just comes out with something that is one, spot on, and two, hilarious, meant for this, just every day of the week.
Lord, okay. Well, what are we doing? Stop that. I can't. No, Martha, the other night, whatever it was, and I was so like, I was worked up about Punch, the monkey, and I was like, the other monkey, if somebody hurt him, to get the electric chair. And I don't know why that came out, like, but Mazda was like, Kim just called for the electric chair. And
I was eating dinner at the kitchen table. I'm eating dinner at the kitchen table, and I'm just laughing hysterically during that whole segment. I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, it's just, sometimes you just like, it's Friday night. I'm done work. It's been a long work week, and I just like to unwind and relax. And I go, let me throw Nurse Kim on. I just want to laugh. And I'm listening, and I'm expecting to tune in and hear about like true crime. And I see Nurse Kim talking about this monkey, and she's playing the video and she's analyzing, and I'm just sitting there eating. And I'm just like almost laughing and falling off the chair, laughing hysterically. And she's like, this OTC needs the electric chair. I'm like dying. I'm like, this is so funny. I'm like, this
You're
is
not
so
wrong
funny.
though.
Yeah.
We raise funds for Punch. Like, can we
Punch? Oh,
funny.
my boy, that poor monkey. Yeah, so that is just, I am unwell, guys. And this is what happens. I allow a stream of consciousness to just keep going. And sometimes I'll read something back and I'm like, oh, I did say that, didn't I? Okay.
Yeah.
With the stuff. Listen, guys, stop. I can't go on a tale of two cities here right now. I'm like, I don't know. Is Punch doing well? Is he still like depressed? I want to feed. When I told you guys that I want this, like the Truman Show, put it in my veins immediately. I need it. Like I need like fluids. This is, I'm like, I need to see everything that is happening. I wouldn't leave. Okay. I'd be hunkered down for a week and a half.
I know. I was like, I need to hug my cats because I can't hug him. He's so sweet. Like,
just seeing him on the like, listen, people are doing still shots, okay, of this monkey sitting and like looking away, and I'm like, I want this framed in my home. I want a fucking I want a 60 by 60 of this like in my living room just to like look at as a conversation piece. I'm like, that is Punch, and I would do anything for him. Did I birth him? No, but I feel like I might have. I'm very connected.
I love it. I love it. He's a doll, and I think we need to keep up with Punch.
He's the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, lovies. I'm gonna go. I know you're gonna go, but I thank you. I thank you so much for inviting me. I thank you so much for thinking of me. And Maza, I love your face forever, my wing king. And I hope I see you guys. Are you doing it next week, Maza?
Next week on Sunday. If you want to join us, let me know. I can send you a link.
I'll bop on by. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Probably 2:00 or 4:00. I'm still deciding on the exact time. Or probably maybe 4. We'll see. I'll get you the official time. I usually debate the time a little bit based on what my schedule is like that weekend. But we'll probably do. I don't know. 2:00 was pretty fun going a little bit earlier though. It's up to you guys, but we'll see.
I just listen. I got Mr. Betterow. I've gotten him to now. I'm making him like give me his schedule at the end of Sunday service so that I can I'm like, are you booked for next week or not, sir?
Right.
Because I'll text him in the middle of the week and I'm like, are we talking all the shit? And then he ghosts me. Okay. And I go, Betterow, what are you doing? Are you working? Oh, what are you working, sir?
Yeah. So he ghosts me a little bit too from now and then. I'll message me, I'll look at it, then I don't hear from him for 2 days. It's like, yeah, I'm good for the day. I'll see you at that time.
Well, that's what kills me. Then he says, so he doesn't even talk. He doesn't answer me all week 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, he's a busy king. I understand. It's a bye week and I'm not going to make it a big deal. How about 6:00 in the morning on Sunday? He's like, hi, where's the link? And I'm like, are you shitting me? I'm like, is this real life? I didn't even set up a thing. And he's like, I had it on our schedule. And I said, well, good sir, perhaps you could have answered one text message. Just one, Mr. Betterow. And then I go, give me 30 minutes. I'll be right there. And then but I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. He's like, just assume. And I'm like, no, we're not assuming. Put it on your calendar. So that's funny. So now I'm going to just
Yeah.
I'll be like, are we good for next week, our king? And then he's like, yes. So that is good. So next Sunday, 8 a.m., Mr. Betterow, and between 2 and 4, we'll be raising funds for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, first of her name. And we are going to be getting ready, preparing for trial. She will also have a lot to talk about because Friday she does have court.
Yes. Oh yeah. Fantastic. That's gonna be
Yeah.
that's gonna be a great day of amazing content. And I am here for it.
Yeah, it's good. They'll give us good conversational pieces to talk about during the fundraiser on Sunday too, which is good. Usually what's good for the fundraisers is when there's an activity that week that pertains to the case, like there's a court date or something. That way you can talk about it. And like there was a couple of times we did fundraisers where it was like there was no news to talk about, which can be tough to kind of generate a lot of conversation for the show. When you're doing 3 hours, it's like you need to have the stuff to talk about. So it's like, it's good. I'm hoping, I'm expecting big things out of the defense. Should be happy. One thing I wanted to correct myself on was I said that Kelsey had more to deal with than Karen. I want to take that back because I think when I made that comment, it doesn't really give enough empathy to John O'Keefe, that Karen lost her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. So I just wanted to correct myself on that one point, that Karen Reed also suffered a significant loss. I think probably because it's out of sight, out of mind in my head right now. I just didn't think about that. But I just want to make that quick correction because I just want to make sure I'm speaking fairly and correctly. Yeah, I know.
I think we knew what you meant because she's got the dynamic of the child. She was in jail.
Right.
So
She was shot. She almost lost her life. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I just
Yes,
wanted to, that was one thing on my head. I'm like, I just want to, correct myself a bit. So.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, thank you both so much. Maza, I will say it again. You have led the way of just doing great things for people, and you are genuine. Your genuineness comes off to everyone that is so, I mean, it's so apparent. You have no ego. Like, thank you for being you. Thank you for your parents for raising you. And thank you for, doing everything you do for all of the people who are in need of it and don't have a voice, like Karen and Kelsey and all of that. So, and thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate both of you guys. I love both of you guys, and I will be in touch soon. Stay safe.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah. Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Kim. Bye, Lauren. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are literally amazing. The support that you've shown for Kelsey, your generosity is unmatched. It's insane. I thank you so much. I know I'm a newer channel, but for so many of you to come here and support, I know that just shows me like you guys really care about Kelsey and you really care about justice. And that is the exact type of people that I want here. And I'm so happy that all of you came today. You could have been in a million places, but you were here. I know there was amazing other content creators that had, I'm sure, amazing shows, which I'm going to have to go back and watch. So it was so great that everyone was here. I do plan on doing a fundraiser in the future. I don't have exact date yet for Edwick Faust, because whether or not you think he is innocent or guilty, I think most of us who watched that case can agree he did not get a fair trial. And there was so much reasonable doubt in that case. I would like to help in any way I can just to help him raise the funds to get an appellate. Because I do believe that will be overturned 100%. There's some things coming out now, some allegations about inappropriate things that the jury was doing. I haven't tried to confirm that, but it apparently the people have receipts and recordings and things like that. So if that's true, shame on them. Secondly, we might get something overturned, and kind of like the Murdaugh thing, it seems like Alec Murdaugh is going to have a new case here soon because of the jury tampering that went on in that case. So if that's true, hopefully we get that. But either way, he's going to need some funds. And, that's just another case that I feel strongly about. And, I don't know if he was innocent, but I can tell you that the other 3 suspects that the investigators didn't look into, had a whole lot more evidence against each and every one of them, and they're each very viable suspects, in my opinion, that were never fully investigated. And that man deserves a fair trial, one that he's able to actually put on a defense. This was very similar in the aspect of kind of the Delphi case to me. Although we did have cameras, thank God, in the courtroom, he wasn't able to put on a defense. The defense was crippled at every bend. I mean, it was maddening. And I think that that was one of the reasons like that drew me to this was like he's not even able to have his constitutional right to put on a defense because they're limiting him in so many aspects. Um yeah, Jeno, it's true. It's very, very true. And it's scary. It's really scary. Um, and yeah, it was wrong on so many levels, like just the stuff and now the stuff that's coming out. Melanie doing such a good job at getting this out there. There is another creator on Facebook. Hardy is his last name. I don't want to give you the wrong name. Yes, that's I was also gonna say that Mr. Cruz will be on with Melanie, tomorrow. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I have to make sure that I cut out a little significant portion from work so that I can give that my full attention. Um, I'm so happy. I kind of figured that he would go on with her when I talked to him in the courtroom. He was so happy to discover the cupcakes and discover Mel and the fact that she was putting so much awareness on this case. And so I'm so happy that he's going to be talking with her. And my goodness, I am so excited as to what he's going to say. Also feel like we're going to be pretty pissed off at what he's going to have to say. Um, just at the things that should have been able to come in, that would have actually given him Edwick this defense that he needed and he had a right to have. So that is going to be huge. Also, if you're interested in this case, um, I don't want to misstate his first name because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Charles Hardy on Facebook. If you're a Facebook person, um, he's been doing live streams. Some of the jurors have reached out to him. He has some reporting on that. And it is interesting to say the least, disturbing on a lot of levels if true. And he seems to have the receipts, or at least he claims to have the receipts for everything. So if you're interested in it, he's been sharing some details that to me have been extremely troubling. Yeah, I know. It's that's the thing. Like I think most of the times the jury gets it right, most of the times. But this is a man's life. Like, how are you okay with like I don't know. I try not to speak about jurors because I know that they have such a serious job and for the most time like they take it serious, but I don't know. If our system is you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt and that there is reasonable doubt and that can literally send a man home. If there is any case that had reasonable doubt, there was this case. It was drenched in it. And so it just is mind-blowing to me that what happened. And yeah, well, stay tuned because the stuff that he's alleging happened is a big deal. And I know appeals take years and years and years. And while I do think he will get one regardless, it takes years. And if there is jury misconduct, like he's alleging there could be, we might have a chance at a little sooner. It's still going to take time, but so keep him in your prayers and just justice, Tara in general, because that's the thing. Everyone wants justice for her. What was done to her is unthinkable, unimaginable, and disgusting. And yeah, no house, no Faust. Exactly. They didn't prove that at all. At all. Um I continue to shake my head about it, and it just makes me really sad and disappointed that, they possibly didn't have the courage to stand up to people, potentially according to one of the jurors, but we'll see. What is done in the darkness always seems to come to light, and like anybody who, can help raise awareness of that, I want to be a part of that as well. So that's why I would have announced it sooner, but I'm trying to get some good guests on with it, to kind of put us in a good position to get some donations and people watching. So hopefully, in the next week or so, I can announce that. But that's definitely one thing that is going to be on my upcoming streams at some point, because I want to help him to have at least the funds to get that appellate pushed through. And like we've learned, every little bit helps and contributes. And yeah, it's anyways, watch Melanie's show tomorrow. Because I definitely did reach out to Melanie. So yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's heartbreaking. Hopefully we'll be able to get in touch with some people who are okay with coming on and talking about it. I know it's a little tricky because nothing, we don't want to mess up the appeal process. And that's first and foremost, they've got to think about that. But at the very least, this man deserves a fair trial, and he did not get that whatsoever. And at the very worst, he is innocent and in jail for the rest of his life now. So we have to, we have to be voices. These people can't, speak as much as they want to, or they're in jail. They don't have access just to come out here and do this. And if I have a platform and I feel like something's wrong, then I'm gonna say it. Like, I'm just going to. And so Melanie has put this case out there, and God bless her for that. Like, she has done so much also in this community to raise awareness for cases like Kelsey and Karen's and all of these things. Like, she uses her voice for good. And so I'm so happy that she's going to get to speak to Mr. Cruz tomorrow, and it's going to be good. I'm going to block out time in my work schedule so that is all I am doing and all I am seeing. And yeah, I think it means a lot to him, the support that has been shown all around, like not just in Georgia. That's what's really, really cool. Yeah, I know. Any sane I know. There was so much reasonable doubt. It's crazy. They couldn't put him in the house. They Caucasian hairs all around. Like, it's wild. It's wild. And what's crazy is that they could only present that one third party defense with Chris, which believe me, there's enough to put on a very strong case like they did, that he, could have done it. But there's two other guys that also have some really damning evidence that could lead and point to them being the ones who did it. So this case is it is just riddled with reasonable doubt. And yeah, no sperm. Again, I don't know how you get over that. And we've seen it firsthand with the Karen Reed trial. Like, just because they have some random DNA that isn't sperm, yeah, they took about 3 samples of his swabs in his mouth. Like, I'm sorry, with the things that we've seen, is it out there? Is it that far out there to think that maybe they just sent that in? Because her own DNA wasn't on it. Her own saliva wasn't on it. This case is wild. And if you haven't watched it, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch Melanie's streams. It's fairly easy to catch up on. It was only a 2-week trial. And let's see here. My heart, I do not believe. For 1 minute, the 12 thought he was. Yeah, and that was, I'm right there with you, Bless Texas, because I never thought 12 would get there. Like, I thought there was a strong possibility he'd be acquitted, but I also thought it was also likely that it would be a hung jury. never in my wildest dreams did I think 12 people would agree that this was a guilty man. It's not there. Like it is not there. If our system of justice, and that is what we go by is reasonable doubt, then my God, I've never seen reasonable doubt if it wasn't in this case. So it's wild. So yeah, I don't know. It's sad because you just, again, people who are like, oh, like we want justice, we want the right thing to happen, whatever that is. And that's the thing. Like, I don't care who it is. I don't care who did it. Like, just as long as the right person is being found guilty for it. But when we see something that's so blatant, like right in front of our eyes, it's like, wait a second, like, no, we have standards here in our law for a reason. So anyways, there will be a future fundraiser for Mr. Faust. And so working on that along with you know, supporting Kelsey in the fundraisers going forward for her trial as well. So there will be something announced at some point in the future. So just kind of want to put that out on y'all's radar. Again, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. Thank you for every single dollar that you donated. I know Kelsey really appreciates, her family appreciates it, and I'm sure that her legal team appreciates it as well. And she's got two of them. She's got she's got Bradle and she's got Coakley, but then she also has the family court that is very expensive as well. And after she's done and is acquitted of these charges, she's going to have to go on to family court and try to get her son back, which is, all the hurdles that have been placed in front of her for that. I think the judge will see right through that, but it's going to be pricey. And so all of everything that you guys are doing constantly is awesome. So you guys all, have really just showed up for her, and it's awesome. So thank you so much. Also, if you are here and you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, like I said, I am a new channel. And I don't have a regular set schedule yet. So please subscribe. It's free. And there's past fundraisers. If you're new here for that, go check them out. We had some great guests on there. My cat, I don't know if you can see him, but he's like, okay, I'm about done with your live stream, Mom. He's like biting my he's biting my shirt, and yeah, he's okay. What you doing, Cash? You want to say hi to everyone? You want to say hi? Nope. Okay. Just want my button. Cool. They were sleeping. I was surprised they were sleeping this whole time because normally they're all up in everybody's business. So anyways, yes. So anyway, subscribe if you haven't. Like this video. Apparently it's good for the algorithm. I'm learning all these things. And there's past fundraisers. So if you'd like to see those, you'd like to see the guests that I had on, because we had some really good ones. And yeah, go ahead. That would help me out a great deal. And thank you to all of our wonderful guests that were on tonight. They're all amazing. If you haven't subbed to them, please go sub to them. Broken Baker, Mazda Media, Nurse Kim, and the Glare. He showed up in the chat. He's also a wonderful channel. Yeah, just thank you for everything that you do, all your support. You guys are the ones that really put your money where your mouth is and where your heart is, and it shows. So you are more than welcome, Jen O. Thank you for modding. Thank you to my mods. That was I'm really happy to have you guys. I was like, I don't know who I should ask to mod, and then there was a few that came right to mind because you guys are always there, and so right on with your thinking, and also just polite and sweet, great people. So anyways, thank you so much, and you guys have a great rest of your Saturday night. Turtle Boy has apparently a full tea show tonight with all the tea. So I don't know about you guys, but I will be there. Excited to hear what that's all about and laugh, because I always laugh. So I will see you guys in the chat if you partake in that. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great night, and I will see you all later. Love you guys. Bye.